Welcome to a very special edition of Plead Your Case, WCTV's only national sports debate show where opinions fly and football minds typically clash, but tonight it's not just about the arguments, it's about answers. I'm Logan Arblaster, and this is the 2025 NFL Draft Special. We're breaking it all down live, position by position, to get you ready for tomorrow night for the first round. The draft's in Green Bay, Wisconsin at Lambeau Field, and the Tennessee Titans are on the clock first at 8 p.m. The rest of the draft order in round one looks like this. The Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles draft 32nd. The Titans possibly looking to take a quarterback off the board right away with the first pick, and everyone in between eyeing the best fit for their team. After the Titans, the Browns will select second. The Giants, Patriots, and Jaguars round out the top five. Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Tyler Warren, some of the names we could see go really early. Other intriguing teams in the first round could be the Jets, who signed Justin Fields in the offseason but could still opt to select a young passer. The Miami Dolphins are a team that could potentially trade down to gain more quality draft picks, trying to get back on track to compete with the elite teams in the AFC. They currently have pick 13, and teams like the Buffalo Bills, Detroit Lions, Kansas City Chiefs, who have all been at the top of the league, just a player or two away from their next, or in the Lions' case, first Super Bowl. The Minnesota Vikings, who only have 4 picks in this draft due to various trades, they will have to make every pick count. Lots of excitement around the draft tomorrow in Green Bay, as well as the NBA, NHL, and MLB drafts that are coming up, which we will also get into. What players are rising, what players are sliding, and who's about to become the next face of an NFL franchise. We have all those answers for you tonight on Plead Your Case.
Hey there, sports fans. You're watching another episode of Waynesburg University Community Television's only national sports debate show, Plead Your Case. Whether you're a diehard fan or a casual observer, get ready to join us every week as we dive deep into current pressing sports topics. Our panelists dissect every angle, every scenario, and every statistic to influence their fiery takes.
What has he done without Tom Brady?
And spirited arguments.
No, listen, Bowtie. Have you ever played Foursquare? No, you were too old to play Foursquare.
There will be no argument unexplored, and every take will be under review.
After reviewing the play...
Here in the Waynesburg University Communication Department, we believe in heated debates with a touch of friendly competition, which is why we also have a fresh 5 and 5 mini segment that you won't want to miss.
I don't think a pitcher is breaking Cy Young's wins record of 511.
You Google America's team, and what do you get? You get the...
So sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious sports chat. It is time to plead your case.
Kick things off where every franchise starts, the quarterbacks. This year's class is loaded with storylines. You've got elite athleticism, raw arm talent, and a few guys with real franchise material. I'm Logan Arblaster, and I'm joined here with Dean Shazer, Wyatt Clatterbaugh, and Benicio DeFalco. And my first question to you guys is, will this draft class exceed its relatively low expectations?
I mean, I think it absolutely has to. Some people were comparing this to the 2022 draft class, which was downright horrendous. We had guys like Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis out of Liberty. Yeah, that doesn't even compare. The more you watch this QB class, and I believe John Gruden, he's done a great job getting some of these guys incorporated into being thought of as, higher draft picks, guys who seem to deserve more of a spotlight that they've been given. Some names, Quinn Ewers, I know he's a veteran stud. He's 22, 23 years old, more on the older end of age going into the NFL as a quarterback. But Will Howard, guys like Kyle McCord, all sleepers in this draft class that you could rely on. And obviously you got Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. So there's talent from top to bottom here in this QB class specifically, and the draft overall, but QBs right now.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what Dean said. I mean, you got Cam Ward, who's arguably going to be the number one pick in this year's draft, threw 39 touchdowns to only 7 interceptions last year with Miami. Shedeur Sanders, we know who he is. Obviously, son of primetime, went to Colorado. You got guys like Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, and why they don't show a lot of stuff on the statistics side of things. They still are great quarterbacks that can get the job done for you in that situation and for any franchise. They'll probably end up being later round picks, but I think it's exactly what Dean said. I think these guys have to kind of perform, because if they don't, it's really going to tarnish their reputation, and as you said, really just be that disappointing class that everybody's been predicting.
Yeah, other than the top two guys, I think there's a major drop-off. I think most of them will be career backups, and they'd have to be fighting for a starting spot due to injury. The next two guys that come to mind are Jalen Milroe and Jackson Dart. I don't see any Jalen Hurts in Jalen Milroe's game. He doesn't have the passing ability that Hurts brought. And then Jackson Dart, he's never appeared in a great game. Well, he's been in the big games, but in terms of playing well, he does not. So if those are the next two guys, I think this QB class is in trouble.
In the quarterback class is highlighted by Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck, and Jalen Milroe. Those are the top 5 quarterbacks in the class. Cam Ward out of the University of Miami, Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, and it's quite the spectacular top 5 at the position. It seems like that Cam Ward appears to be the number one consensus quarterback in this draft, but Shedeur Sanders may be another name that could be creeping up on people's lists. Is that a guy you guys see creeping up on the draft list come tomorrow night?
I don't even know what to think about Shedeur Sanders at this point in the draft. He's gone from, speculation to the Cleveland Browns taking him, thinking that he's the next guy, to he's not even going to be in the top 10, to he's going to fall to pick 21, and now he's wrapped up in Pittsburgh, and, just all of a sudden he could drop to mid to late 20s, and then he can go to the Saints at 9. They really don't have anybody. His car is injured. Shedeur, yeah, I like Shedeur overall. I think he has everything from the hips up in terms of football IQ, in terms of throwing power, throwing ability, in terms of seeing the field, having anticipation, knowing where to throw the ball and how to read defenses. He just has to work on his torque and his hips just to get that NFL arm power and one-up himself and level himself up. But I think he's going to be probably the best quarterback in this draft.
I mean, it's like you said. I mean, he went to Jackson State, transferred to Colorado with his dad, had a 74% completion percentage, 4,134 yards, 37 touchdowns to only 10 interceptions this season with Colorado. He's a prototypical kind of NFL quarterback that you kind of see nowadays. You got like the Jaden Daniels, the Lamar Jacksons. He's quick with his feet. Arm strength probably isn't the strongest that I've seen out of every quarterback in this draft, but he does get the ball downfield. He can get those big plays. He can make teams really think, and defenses really have to kind of look at him and be like, oh, shoot, this guy's legit and he's the real deal. So I think he will be one of the better quarterbacks in this draft. Do I think he's better than Cam Ward? That's kind of up for debate, but I think he is definitely one of the top-tier quarterbacks, and it's going to be interesting to see where he goes tomorrow.
As I was going to say, the only thing before you get going, the only thing about Shedeur, people think he's this elite mobile quarterback. He's not. He reminds me of a guy kind of like Derek Carr, who has mobility when he can use it. This is why I think he'll be a great fit for the Saints. Derek Carr came into the league as an underdeveloped quarterback, and I just think Carr will be a great mentor to Shedeur. So Saints at 9 will be a great fit.
When it comes to the one-on-one between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, I am all in on Shedeur Sanders. He's the most accurate quarterback in this class. He's changed 2 programs around with 6 different offensive coordinators. Rookie quarterbacks, when they struggle, what do? They go from OC to OC. This guy's been there. He's done that. Didn't win major games at Colorado, but he had the big moments. This guy's a can't-miss prospect. He's going to have a better situation than Cam Ward. And like I said, he's the most accurate quarterback He's going to get paired up with some good receivers, depending at that 9 spot or 21 spot between the Steelers and the Saints. He's going to have either Chris Olave, George Pickens, or DK Metcalf to throw to. Sky's the limit for this guy.
74% completion percentage, over 4,000 yards for Shedeur Sanders last year. He has a lot of encouraging abilities about him, and one of them is the fact that he's able to extend plays. He's able to keep plays going with his feet. 7 of the last 8 Super Bowl starting quarterbacks led their team to the Super Bowl with the team they were drafted by. Jalen Hurts has been to the Super Bowl twice. Mahomes has been there in the big game 5 times. Brock Purdy, Mr. Relevant, he's been there. And Joe Burrow, also 2 names who have taken their teams to the Super Bowl with the teams they were drafted by. So you have to think with caliber players like Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, that whenever they're on the board and you're trying to take your team to the Super Bowl, that adds some type of extra hype and willingness to take a shot on those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think if you take a chance on not necessarily a quarterback, because ultimately you never know with quarterback prospects unless they're guys like Caleb Williams, who came into the league as one of the top-rated quarterback prospects in our lifetime. In all honesty, yeah, he hasn't lived up to expectations yet. But look down the list. Look in that 3rd and 4th round. There's guys like Kyle McCord, guys like national champion Will Howard, who threw over 4,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, and we mentioned Shedeur's completion percentage, 74. Howard's right there, 73.5%. So pretty much 74 completion percentage. You're doing this as the national champion on the quarterback. People say Howard only needed to play decent. I think Will Howard played fantastic, especially considering the game after Michigan, which was his worst collegiate game by far, and one that probably will sting for the rest of his life, but now he has a ring because of it. So I'm really high on Will Howard. If you don't get one of the top 2 guys, I think you'll be just fine in settling, quote-unquote, for a quarterback.
And any sleepers for you guys, Wyatt and Benny?
I think for me, it's one that we kind of mentioned, but Jackson Dart from Ole Miss. I know Benny said been in the big games, hasn't been able to kind of come up big. Was 29-6 as the starter for Ole Miss this year, and threw for 4,279 yards as well. So while he doesn't win in the big games, and I know that's what you need when you're in the NFL, he can get the job done. I think he will be a good fit for any team, whether it is the Steelers, whether it's another team in the 2nd round, like this. Maybe the Saints go after him at 9, but maybe they don't like Shedeur. But I think Jackson Dart can be a legit quarterback in the NFL. I think he's just got to find the right situation and the right team, and I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, I got 2 sleepers, both of them Dean named. Will Howard, great size, same size as Josh Allen, got better as the year went on, and he played his best ball when it mattered most. The biggest knock on Will Howard is that he's throwing to NFL receivers. Well, when he gets drafted to the NFL, who's he going to be throwing to?
Exactly.
And then second off, I got Kyle McCord. Night and day in terms of season to season. He spent 1 year at Syracuse, and he broke every passing record there. I think this guy is a sleeper. He compared himself to Joe Burrow, and I think that's honestly a good comparison. Just in terms of how they play. They're very accurate, not too great runners, but when the spot is there, Kyle McCord can take off. And like I said, night and day in terms of year in and year out, he showed improvement. I think you got to watch out for those 2 late.
Kind of sounds like a little bit of a homer pick, don't you think? Cleveland guy. Well, not Cleveland. Grew up in Ohio. Takes McCord and Howard, but sorry.
He is a Steeler fan, though, so
yeah,
you have to think.
I'd also shout out Quinn Ewers.
I guess
Quinn Ewers is also a guy that, while his name hasn't been thrown
Ohio
out
State
there that
again.
much, I think was Ohio State, transferred to Texas, threw 31 touchdowns this season for Texas. Couldn't get it done in the big game. Obviously, we know lost to Ohio State in the semifinals, but I think he's a guy that can get the job done, can win when you need him to. And while his arm strength doesn't look that great, I think it is he can be the quarterback a team needs in the NFL.
So the quarterback class, high ceiling, high drama as always, but maybe not a clear-cut superstar this year. Teams looking for a quarterback this year could be taking a high risk with one of these guys. Coming up next, the engines of the offense. Let's talk running backs here on Plead Your Case.
Unable to watch the live stream? Follow our account on X for live updates on the game. Check us out on Instagram as well for game day posts with all the information you need to know, as well as behind the scenes of each production. Our social media team works the hardest to give the best content to all of our audience. We're even on TikTok. can stay up to date with WCTV on our Instagram account with clips from each of our shows. And last but not least, subscribe to our WCTV YouTube channel to watch those shows in full length. Check us out from Lewiston, WCTV, and the entire Department of Comm.
Oh, I didn't see you there. I'm Mia Hinkins, and welcome to Buell Hall, home of Waynesburg University's Department of Communication. If you visit our campus, you'll have the opportunity to attend some comm classes, enjoy lunch with our students, and watch us in action. We hope to see you here soon at Waynesburg University.
To schedule your personal visit, go to waynesburg.edu/admissions/schedule-visit. Come grow with us at Waynesburg University.
It's time to talk about the run game on Plead Your Case Live Draft Special 2025. We're diving into the running backs. This isn't a class filled with first-round locks, but don't let that fool you. There's plenty of talent, especially on day 2. And 2 guys projected to go early in Heisman finalist Ashton Jeanty and North Carolina star Omarion Hampton. The other 3 running backs in ESPN's top 5 class are a tandem of Ohio State 1,000-yard rushers in Kinshawn Judkins and Travion Henderson. And Caleb Johnson, also from Iowa, is on the list. Take a look at them there. Ashton Jeanty, a Heisman finalist. Camp Scadaboo, also on our top 5. He's getting compared to Christian McCaffrey early on. My first question to you guys, as I'm joined with Dean Shazer, Tyler Aaron, and to my left directly, Chase Mistako. Who's going to take Ashton Jeanty first off the board? I mean, this guy, he had the second most rushing yards in a single season in NCAA history, just behind Barry Sanders. Who's going to take Ashton Jeanty off the board first, Dean?
Initially, I had the Chicago Bears, taking him at 10, but I don't know if he's going to go past 10. The Jacksonville Jaguars are a team in need of a running back. Travis Etienne, injury prone. Tank Bigsby not really having the NFL breakaway talent to turn into a superstar. I think this offense is a superstar running back away from being right back into the playoffs again, pending Trevor Lawrence's struggles, and hopefully he figures it out. But if the Jacksonville Jaguars pick Jeanty at 5, they're an automatic playoff contender. And if the Chicago Bears move up, it's going to be the Bears, which there were talks and rumors about today. So the Bears or the Jaguars should have Jeanty, and he shouldn't go past the top 10.
Tyler?
Well, Dean, I got the same team. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking him at 5. Obviously, you talked about the injury history with Travis Etienne. Obviously, Ashton Jeanty, only 21 years old, 5'9", 215 pounds. This guy is a real playmaker. He's a nice power back. I honestly compare him to Alvin Kamara. Honestly, looking at the numbers, 374 carries, 2,601 yards, 29 touchdowns, averaging 7 yards a carry. It's everything you want out of a running back. Now, I really do think Ashton Jeanty would thrive on a team where he's not getting an over amount of runs. You got to keep his runs down low, like 20 or 20 carries a game. Keep it low. That's where he's really going to be in his prime and continue to be, hopefully, one of the great backs in the NFL.
Yeah, and for me, I have Ashton Jeanty going to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders picked up Geno Smith in this offseason, already have a solid core to the team. I think Ashton Jeanty will be a nice bell cow running back there to add some consistency to the team. 2,600 yards in college. You don't see that ever. Second only to Barry Sanders. As we mentioned, he was the Heisman runner-up. He was also an All-American. So Ashton Jeanty is going to be the whole package, and I think he's going to bring some nice consistency to this struggling Las Vegas Raiders team.
Teams that could need a running back are the Broncos, Cowboys, Steelers, Chargers, and Chiefs. Two of the guys we mentioned in the intro of this segment are the pair of Ohio State rushers. Henderson, he rushed for over 1,000 yards last year, as did Judkins. Henderson had 1,016, and Judkins was just about 50 yards better than Henderson. Do you guys think that both of these guys will be successful at the next level? Is one of these guys better than the other?
Absolutely. I think they will both have successful NFL careers, but in the end, I think it's going to be TreVeyon Henderson. You see his breakaway speed, the breakaway speed he had against Oregon in the Rose Bowl, the breakaway speed he had against Texas in that game going into the national championship. TreVeyon Henderson is a guy who has battled through injuries throughout his collegiate career. He finally got himself back together in full health last year, and you saw what he could do on the best team in the country, the Ohio State national champion Buckeyes. We're probably going to be talking about a lot of national champion winners as Ohio State had the most complete roster in the league. But they will both be successful, and I think TreVeyon Henderson is going to get the edge. And to a point you made about Jeanty, I really don't know if the Raiders are going to need a running back right away. If they don't take him at 6 and he's still on the board, then it's inevitable for him to be a Chicago Bear.
Yeah, I definitely agree. TreVeyon Henderson, obviously, who I think is going to be the better. I mean, he averages 7.1 yards a carry. Obviously, we've seen him a lot, especially during the national championship run, especially in that championship game against Texas. So, honestly, though, I could see – I don't know, because it depends on what team either of these running backs go to. Because if it's a team like the Denver Broncos, who seems to be upcoming, obviously Bo Nix at the helm, I think they're going to thrive there more versus like the LA Chargers, in my opinion. Obviously, I don't really like how the Chargers are going right now. Obviously, they just signed Najee Harris, so are they just going to split the carries? I don't know how that would go, but obviously it just depends on the team you go to. But definitely Henderson, I really think he's going to thrive better.
Yeah, I also 100% agree. TreVeyon Henderson's my guy as well. To me, it's just the 7.1 yards per carry, as you mentioned, Tyler. It's just such an explosive player in an age where the NFL is more explosive than ever. I think if he ends up on a team like the Chicago Bears that already has some high-powered offensive weapons, he's going to be an absolute superstar. He can also catch the ball, and in an era where we're passing more than ever as well, it'll be a nice addition to have a running back for Caleb Williams to check the ball down to on a screen pass, and he has that breakaway speed to take it all the way to the house.
Now, we talked about some of the key guys. Are there any sleepers that you guys could see going higher than expected?
Right away, TreVeyon Henderson. I don't want to keep talking about it, but I think he's definitely first-round talent. We saw in some mock drafts by the quote-unquote professionals that Marion Hampton out of North Carolina is going to get selected at 20, a pick before the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't see in any world where the Steelers take a running back immediately after. And I think the only first-round potential running backs are TreVeyon Henderson, Ashton Jeanty, and Marion Hampton. I think those are the three that you can, what's the word I'm looking for? Come up with an excuse, I guess, because no one likes taking a running back in the first round anymore. And I really don't understand that philosophy, because running backs used to be the bare bone of this league. And
unless it's fantasy football, then it's the other way around.
Yeah, and then as Chase said, it's a completely different era. You're passing more to your running backs more than ever. We look at guys like Le'Veon Bell and Chris Johnson, even when he was on the Titans, they were vital catch passers out of the backfield, and that just changes the complete dynamic of a football game. So some sleepers, we haven't even mentioned Cam Scatterbo. He might be slightly overrated, but that dude is going to be a beast. I think he could be like a fullback type player like Mike Allstott or, Kyle Juszczyk turned into something like that compared to just the number one running back in an offense.
Mm-hmm. I have Jaden Blue from Texas. He's projected to be early 5th round. I really think he can go up into the 4th round. And honestly, the only downside I see to him is his ball security. Obviously, he can't really hold onto the ball that well. 6'0", 200 pounds. He's only 21. 730 yards and 134 carries for Jaden Blue. Honestly, in my opinion, he's one of the most athletic running backs that we have out of this draft class. He is fast. He's explosive, especially in the short area. He can catch Obviously, you can put him out to the side into a formation and run short routes and stuff like that. I mean, this guy, his stamina is amazing. Obviously, he's fast, very fast. Obviously, with running backs in today's game, you want them to be fast. You want them to be explosive. It doesn't matter if it's a 70-yard run, as long as they're consistent. 6-yard runs every time, obviously. If you're consistent, which is what Jaden Blue is, you're going to thrive in the NFL. And with Jaden Blue, obviously, all he's got to do is improve that ball security. He does that. I think he's going to go a long way here in the NFL.
That is huge. That is a tough thing to improve, though, especially moving from Big 12 or whatever they're in now, Texas, to the NFL. It's going to be tough to translate ball security. If you can't hold on to the ball in college, it's going to be tough in the NFL, I think.
Chase?
Yeah, and for me, I have Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. It was over 1,500 yards last season for Caleb Johnson, 21 touchdowns on the year. The thing I love about him most is just the size. Big, over 6'2", big running back that can power through the line, follow your big-bodied offensive lineman, and get to the goal line. I think that's where Caleb Johnson is going to fit in the best. A team like the New Orleans Saints of the past, where they would get down to the goal line and you knew you had Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams there to take the touchdown in every single time. I think Caleb Johnson would be a perfect fit for that type of team. He can also pass block very well, so he can stick around on third down. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but because he can pass block, he can stick around and be a three-down bell cow for whatever team he goes to.
Saints had Mark Ingram for a period of time, too, in between Jamal Williams. Yep. So that was sweet.
All right. Well, Ashton Genty is the far and away best running back, I would say, in this draft, but there's still some serious value and maybe some underrated talent with guys like Cam Skattebo, who's drawing a lot of comparisons to Christian McCaffrey. Skattebo is the first player, actually, in FBS since Christian McCaffrey in 2015 to have at least 1,500 yards rushing and 500 yards receiving in a single season. After the break, it's the game changers on the outside. Let's break down the wide receivers here on Plead Your Case.
Ha! Gotcha.
Fading up to Tyler and Mia in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Mia Hinkins.
And I'm Tyler Aaron, and welcome
to Jacket Sports Weekly.
We are live on Plead Your Case to prepare you for everything you need to know for the draft tomorrow night in Green Bay. The Titans will be on the clock first tomorrow at 8 p.m., and it is definitely a passing league nowadays. There's no doubt about it, and easier than to find solid wide receivers than ever. These guys have speed, they have size, and they have route running ability with big play potential. The top 5 wide receivers, according to ESPN this year, are Tedarrell McMillan, Luther Burden III, Trey Harris, Emeka Egbuka, and Matthew Golden. I'm Logan Arblaster, and this is the 2025 Plead Your Case Live Draft Special. I'm joined here with Mike McKenzie, Cole Keller, and Ron Brown. Mike, I'll start with you first. Who is your favorite wide receiver in this draft class?
I may come off as biased by saying this. I'm going to say it. I'm an Ohio State fan, but I'm going Emeka Egbuka as my number one, just straight wide receiver. Number one prospect that is a potential wide receiver is obviously Travis Hunter, but he's a dual player, plays corner, plays wide receiver, so I'm looking just at wide receiver. I know Ted McMillan is the favorite pick there, but I'm going Emeka Egbuka. I know he's projecting as a slot guy, but really could be a quarterback's best friend. Very precise route running, gets open on pretty much any single play you can think. 1st and 10, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 11. He's going to get open open. He's going to be there for a quarterback to make a play. He's got great hands, late hands. A lot of teams looking for late hands and receivers able to get your hands up just as the ball's getting there. Emeka Egbuka has that, and he's underrated with his speed in the open field when he has the ball, not just straight line quickness. He's good with the ball in his hands in the open field, and I feel like he has underrated hands. Ball security may be a little bit of an issue. He had a couple of fumbles in the playoff, but I don't think that's going to be something that hampers him in his NFL career. Just all the traits Emeka Egbuka has, I think, point to him being the number one receiver in this draft class. Whichever quarterback gets Emeka Egbuka is going to be in love.
I totally agree. Everything that you said. But my only con with that, he may be a product of Marvin Harrison Jr. or Jeremiah Smith. But honestly, I think that's a lie because looking at his stats, 81 receptions, 1,011 yards, 10 touchdowns last year. Like you said, surprisingly quick, sharp routes, next level route running. I think he's the best route runner this year. And I can't say more than what you said. I agree with you entirely, and everything you said, you knocked out the park, and I have everything on my paper that you said. So
I disagree with both you guys. Even though I love Ohio State, those are my Buckeyes, but Ted McMillan, man, 6'5", 220 pounds, had 84 catches, 1,319 yards and 8 touchdowns, and averaged 15 yards a catch. The man is like, I'm not comparing him to Megatron, but having somebody kind of like that, he's just a couple pounds lighter than Megatron, but having a guy who's 6'5", and you could just throw it up to, can run past people, can jump out the gym, I mean, it's kind of hard to say he's not the best when he's just that good. And as far as Egbuka goes, I don't think over Ted McMillan or Matthew Golden, I don't think if he was on the same team as those guys, I still don't think he'd be the best receiver. Because you guys are saying he's the best receiver of all, but I don't think if he was on the same team as those two, he still wouldn't be the best receiver.
Steve Smith even said that Tet leaves a lot on the field, a lot of plays on the field that he doesn't finish. And that would be my argument with that.
That's a lot of receivers. There's a lot of receivers like that.
Tet doesn't.
That's not Emeka.
There's a lot of receivers, though.
Because he is expected to be that. He's the number one guy.
He has no choice.
He's 6'4".
He's the number 2 receiver. He has no choice.
He's 6'4", and he still leaves so much out on the field.
Well, one name, I'm going to cut you off here. One name that wasn't mentioned and it isn't in the top 5 at receiver, but won the Heisman Trophy last year is Travis Hunter. And you can't have this segment without talking about the guy. He's trying to be a two-way player, and we've really never seen that before. Do you guys see Travis Hunter developing into a solid wide receiver at the NFL level? Obviously put up the numbers in college.
I would say he has the chance. It's all about the situation he goes to and whichever team drafts him, how they use him. He's certainly got the traits of an elite NFL wide receiver. He's super athletic, and his football IQ, his football acumen is through the roof. But again, it's a matter of how many snaps does he play at receiver compared to corner. You know, the Cleveland Browns seem to be the shoe-in for Travis Hunter. He seems to be a shoe-in for the number 2 overall pick. So if it is Cleveland, where do they use him? Do they use him more at corner? Do they use him more at receiver? Same thing if he falls to number 3 to the Giants. And I think it's all going to be dependent on what capacity he's used in by the team he's drafted to. He's got the traits, he's got the abilities. He showed that at Colorado, but it's a matter of which NFL team gets him, how they use him.
I think if he goes to the Browns, I think they're going to try him on offense first because you have an offensive-minded head coach with Kevin Stefanski, and they don't really have, other than Jerry Jeudy, they don't really have any other receivers. They traded away Amari Cooper last year, so I think they're going to try him at receiver. I would definitely have him try him out on special teams, have him returning as well. So you can get the ball in his hands as much as you can. But as far as him being a two-way player, I think that's going to be impossible in the NFL. You can't, I heard somebody say this. They say you basically want to get guarded by Jalen Ramsey and then go guard Tyreek Hill the next possession. It's impossible.
I don't know if I entirely agree. I would say that I think he could play both. I think he could play both ways. I think a first and third, me and my roommate Luke Andrusick were talking about this earlier. If he goes to the Browns, first and third down only for offense, defense full-time, special teams, I could see that. But like you said, Mike, I mean, athletic freak. Great yards after catch, great vertical, very good toe tapper, strong hands, quick. My only big knack on him is he's slim. He's slim. He kind of rounds.
So how's he going to play both sides if he's 180, 85
He's gonna have to
pounds?
bulk up anyways.
But how's he going to play both sides?
Everybody from college has to bulk up to NFL size.
Yeah, but
Everybody.
that don't mean
You
you're playing against NFL players. You're
just
not
proved my
playing
point.
against college
Well,
players.
You just said yeah.
You're not playing
You
against
just
college
said yeah.
players.
You just said yeah. Though.
Yeah, he's
so you
gonna
just
have to
proved my
bulk
point.
up, but he's not being a full-time two-way player. He's not.
Maybe that's the point I thought you were trying to make.
I
Ron.
think he's going to I think you'll sprinkle him in here and there if he does play defense. You can sprinkle him in here and there on offense, but he's not being a full-time player.
If he
And
does,
you're talking about him playing special teams too.
You just said that he plays special teams.
Yeah,
as
if
well.
he just played one side.
If he plays one side, you just said that he's going to play special teams though as well as defense.
I said offense. I said he's play offense if he goes to the Browns. He's going to play offense because they have an offensive-minded head coach.
We're definitely making it known our opinions here. If he goes number one, guys, he'll be the first ever corner to be drafted with the number one pick. If he goes number one, he'll also be the first wide receiver selected with that pick since Keyshawn Johnson in 1996. It always seems like each year there's a few guys that fall late in rounds of drafts, and they're like day three guys that end up being diamonds in the rough. Is there anybody that you would consider a hidden gem in this draft at the wide receiver position?
Now, I'll get into my hidden gem. I just want to take 10 seconds to shout out Luther Burden. He should be a top 15 pick. He'll fall outside of the top 20. He may be a first-round pick yet the steal of the draft. Guy has a lot of similar traits to Jamar Chase. I'm not saying he's going to be Jamar Chase, top 5 receiver in the league, but he's got a lot of similar traits to Chase. But one of my diamonds in the rough, I'm looking at Stanford wide receiver Alec Imaner, a 6'2", 210 big body receiver, big vertical threat. There's some areas in his game that he has to work on specifically. I want to see him expand his route tree a little bit, but he's a guy, the vertical threat, big body, jump ball receiver ability. As he develops in the NFL, he still has a chance out of the gate to put up some big numbers, be productive, and burst onto the scene statistically while he develops and refines some of the smaller areas of his game.
A guy for me is, I'm surprised nobody has mentioned this guy at all, is Nick Nash from San Jose State. He didn't get as much press just because he played at San Jose State, but he was a finalist for the Blitnikoff and could have possibly had a case for it. It's just because of his competition and he weren't on TV as much. But at 6'2", 205, running a 4.57, had 104 catches, 1,382 yards, and 16 touchdowns. I don't know how more people aren't higher on this guy. He's got all the intangibles. He can run the route tree. He can jump. I don't know why more teams aren't in on him because he's projected possibly a late day 2, more than likely probably a day 3 pick, but somebody's going to get a steal there with this guy.
I have to agree with that. Nick Nash, Triple Crown winner, but I'm going to do somebody different. I'm going to say Torrey Horton. Torrey Horton is big on Steve Smith's draft board. He really likes Torrey Horton as a kind of underthought guy. Torrey, 4'4", 6'2", 196 pounds, and he played in 5 games because he got injured, so he'll be coming off an injury, that's why I see him falling. But back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving yards in 22 and 23, and this year 353 yards. Good burst timing, fast hands, comes back to the ball, so I could see him, as long as he gets into the right scheme where coaches will use him correctly, which is the same for every position group, no matter what, I could see him becoming the diamond in the rough.
All right, well, there's a lot of explosiveness and excitement out of the wide receiver group this year. We expect it to be real fun. We're looking forward to watching a lot of game-changing plays and touchdown celebrations out of the wideouts. Now we shift to the guys who help a little bit in the pass game and the run game. There's no one that can do it like one guy we think who can do it better than anyone else. Let's talk about Penn State's standout on the other side here on the 2025 Live Draft Special and on the eve of the 2025 NFL Draft, all on Plead Your Case. All right, let's talk about the tight ends, the hybrids of today's NFL. Logan Arblaster here with you, and I'm joined by Ryan Martin, Seth Adams, and Daniel Dimes. He's usually our audio guy in the pre-recorded segments, but he's making his first debut here on the desk.
Time.
It's going to be a real fun one here, guys.
Yes.
So this class is highlighted by two guys specifically, and it's headlined by a guy who brings a lot of versatility to the table, and that's Tyler Warren out of Penn State. Some can block, some can stretch the field, and a few can even become mismatches in week one. But Tyler Warren was even taking snaps at quarterback last year for PSU, next to Warren, who's ranked first in the tight end group and fourth overall. Colston Loveland is another name from Michigan. He's ranked 10th overall by ESPN and second at the position. Loveland, a very effective route runner who can shake defenders at the top of his routes. Definitely a guy that teams are looking into tomorrow night. The rest of ESPN's top five, we'll get you those. It's Caleb Johnson, Elijah Arroyo, and Terrence Ferguson. Teams that could need a tight end are the Colts, Chargers, Bears, and also the Broncos. Guys, what makes Tyler Warren as great as he is? What makes him the number one tight end to go in this draft?
Yeah, so Tyler Warren here is the full package and more. He had 1,200 receiving yards on the season, which was 7th in all receiving leaders this season. 8 touchdowns, 104 receptions, which was second most in all receivers that led the league. And he was showcased at Penn State, honestly. Like, he did everything that he could do and more. Like, what else could he do? He ran the ball. He was number one receiver on their team compared to the actual receivers. He had 60 more receptions compared to the other receivers. Like,
yeah.
There was nothing more he could do. He was their number one guy this season. They leaned on him when they needed to, and he got the job done. He single-handedly carried them through multiple games.
He's first at Penn State in almost every single major receiving category.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the guy.
And what makes him so great is kind of what you said, Danny. He's a Swiss Army knife almost. 200-plus rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 rushing touchdowns. This guy's a tight end. He is leading. He has 1,200 yards. He has 10 touchdowns. This guy has been absolutely – he has 8 touchdowns. But still, he has been absolutely insane. He's been electric. He is the number one tight end in this class. But I could see him maybe close to, but Tyler Warren is really the number one, in my opinion.
He's not the number one. But,
Really?
you know, yeah.
You might be the only person saying that right
and
now.
it's crazy why
is that?
Because
Harold Fannin out of Bowling Green. Now, don't get me wrong, Bowling Green, I know it's not a great conference, not in a great conference. They didn't have a great schedule, but they did play Penn State University, okay? And the yards he put up against them, 137 yards, 1 touchdown, okay? That's not something you just do. They were ranked 8 at that time, okay? And against number 25, Texas A&M at that time, he put up 145 yards. He put up 1,500 yards on the season. No random guy does that. That's an FBS record, by the way. He had the FBS record for yards and receptions at any position, even receiver. He had the most in FBS history. So that's my number one.
Well, Ryan, I don't want to disregard Fannin, but the brothers' competition was not too great.
Who was Genty's competition?
Oh my!
Why is he top
See,
10?
this is apples and oranges we're
Why
comparing.
is he
right
top
now.
10?
This is apples to oranges we're comparing right now.
Apples to oranges?
Listen, he
Well, I
played
was gonna
he
say-
played Kent
That's
State.
ridiculous.
Kent State.
And
They were
Genty
the worst,
played
they were the
SDSU.
worst offensive team in the entire NCAA. They were terrible. Of course
Who
they're
did
going to put
Genty
up.
play?
Dude, he played Oregon.
Doesn't matter.
Genty didn't
Number
play
one
much.
Oregon.
Genty didn't
Number
play
one
much.
Oregon. At the
matter.
time, it was number one Oregon.
And now they're not number one because they lost to Ohio State.
I think you're the
I'm
only
not-
guy
No.
with,
Thank you.
with
I'm
him
not-
all the way up on
I
your
don't want to
list.
disregard Fannon's
I love Fannin.
stats. He's incredible. 1,500 yards. You don't do that. But
Nope.
the only thing I see with him is you have to see what he does when he gets into the league. He's had some competition that's mediocre or less than mediocre. So when he gets drafted and gets to that NFL level, we're going to see what he's truly about. I'm not saying he's bad, Ryan. I'm saying he's a 2. I think he's
Penn
2.
State is mediocre
Oh my
competition.
goodness! It's like I'm talking
So
about.
the first question I asked you guys is why Tyler Warren's the consensus number one at tight end. Ryan kind of gave me, I think, his own consensus number one and a under the radar pick all in one. So I guess if you want to answer this question again, you can. But my question to you guys at the end of the table:
Yeah, go ahead, Danny.
is there a tight end that is flying under the radar that you guys think should be looked into?
Yeah, I'm going with Elijah Arroyo out of Miami. He is big, 6'5", 250 pounds. Now, I do have one concern for him is that this is his first real season back after an injury. He only played 11 games during the 2022 and 2023 seasons. However, he had 590 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns. I know that the numbers aren't really there, but playing behind like Cam Ward, he was a stud out there. I mean, he was able to adapt when he needed to, and he found the open grass when nobody else could. He plays really well under a scrambling quarterback, which is going to be key for him to get drafted by a team that has a scrambling quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He's a deep ball threat. He's got everything you need as one of those sneaky little tight ends that you can pick up in the 2nd to 3rd round.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go with Terrence Ferguson from Oregon, 6'5", 247 pounds, the fastest 40-yard dash. He ran a 4.63, leads all of Oregon in receptions and touchdowns over his career. This guy, he's not too known. We saw him on the graphic there, but I'm going to be honest, guys, this class itself is just not too great. We look statistically, a lot of these guys are pushing around 500, 600 yards. When you have those two standouts with 1,500 and 1,200, it's kind of a big difference. But I got Terrence Ferguson. He's fast. He's quick and effective route runner, and he'll probably get creative in some open space.
Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland are both projected to be first-round picks. The other 3 tight ends in the top 5 are not. They're projected to go either in the 2nd round or in the 3rd round. So out of Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, which of those guys do you think, or what systems would they benefit from the most?
Well, I would say get Tyler Warren into his position where Penn State's offense was running, okay? And I don't think Penn State – Drew Allar's not that big of a scrambling quarterback. I don't know. You need a pocket passer. You need somebody who throws a lot. That's who I'd go with. Maybe something if you pair him. I know Cam Ward, he's kind of a rushing quarterback, but I'd love to see that, honestly. If they can trade back in the 1st round, I know it's highly unlikely, but if you can get somebody that has a good arm with him, that could be lethal combination.
I want to say that Colston, he's a little overrated. I don't really think he should be the number 2 tight end. 582 yards, 5 touchdowns, 56 receptions. He had one 100-yard game, a couple of 80-yard games, only a couple of games with 3 or 4 receptions. That's not great. I mean, I don't really think that this guy should be labeled, and we agree on this, Ryan, that he should be labeled as high as he is. But I agree with Ryan. I think that once Warren finds his position like he saw at Penn State, I think he's going to be lethal once again, yeah.
Danny, any system you think Warren could fit into the best?
I think he can fit anywhere.
True.
I mean, seeing what he did, obviously, with Penn State, he can fit in any system that you need. Like, whatever you're lacking, he will be there to fix that. And Loveland, I agree with Seth and Ryan on this one. I think that Loveland is a little overrated. I think he's more of a 2nd-round pick, maybe early, but I'm seeing like mid 1st round, like
way too.
He didn't do anything. I mean, like he has an injury too. He had a shoulder surgery in January, and he had the sling on for the combine. He didn't run the 40-yard. I mean, like, what's this guy? Something's wrong with him, and I don't know what. Like, there's something underlying.
Yeah. Well, to that point, outside of Tyler Warren, nobody really has any eye-popping stats out of this tight end group. But tight ends in 2025, Tyler Warren, we think, could be the next Travis Kelce, maybe. Everyone else could be under the radar for now, but we'll see if there's any diamonds in the rough once the season starts. Next, let's move to the trenches, the offensive linemen on the 2025 NFL Draft Special.
Working here. My bad.
It's time for the guys up front. We're talking offensive linemen. Tackles, guards, centers, and with pass rushers getting faster, protecting your quarterback has never been more critical. Teams that need an offensive lineman, well, there's a lot of them. Houston, Kansas City, Miami, Minnesota, they could all need an offensive lineman. I'm joined here with with Chase Maseko, Vinny Heller, and Joe Chirillo to discuss this. Guys, who is your number one? Let's start with the tackle. Who's your best tackle in this draft and why?
Please go ahead.
I'll start. It's written all over my face. Will Campbell, as a Patriots fan, I'm hoping we pick him up. Hoping he stays at tackle. He listed his short arms. I mean, they're trying to move him to guard. I hope not. This dude is, man, he's technical. He's arguably the best pass setter in college football, in my opinion. He's nasty in the run game, strong, physical, puts you right in the dirt if he really needs to. And he's quick. I mean, he ran a 4.98 40. And in my opinion, I definitely think that's where the 40 really matters instead of, for skills. We see their straight line speed. But I definitely feel like a 4.98 40, as big as he is, 6'6", 324, I mean, he's moving. That's my number one all day.
Kelvin Banks Jr., I mean, he's one of my number ones that I had. I was looking, he can excel either in the tackle or the guard position. And in this case, a lot of different guys are going to be looking for that. How well can you do on both sides of the ball? And in this case, a lot of teams are going to need that. One of the ones, at least in the area, the Pittsburgh Steelers need that a lot more. And a lot of other teams are looking for that. Amazing footwork and quickness. I think that he really is one that we can look at for a lot of that quick needed positions, especially maybe on that blind side for whatever kind of quarterback, whether you're with Tagovailoa, who's a lefty, or your righties, typicals like Patrick Mahomes, anything like that. I could see the Chiefs going for this one, but in my personal pick, I think the Bears are going to be picking him up at some point.
Chase?
Yeah, for me, I have the third tackle that we haven't mentioned, Armand Membu out of Missouri. Just like Will Campbell, there's talk of maybe having some shorter arms than the average offensive tackle in the National Football League. But what really stood out to me when watching his film was his quickness on the edge. As soon as the ball is snapped, you see him instantly get his hands on the defensive end, stop them in their tracks. He's strong, powerful. He ran a 4.91 40-yard dash at 332 pounds. So Armand Membu is a guy I think will be a great addition potentially to a team like the Patriots, also the Jacksonville Jaguars, any of those teams in the top 10 picks if they want an offensive tackle.
Those are all great offensive tackles. Are there any centers, interior linemen, guards that fans should be expecting to go early tomorrow?
I think the first and probably one of not many in this draft class, Tyler Booker out of Alabama. NFL-ready build. This dude is huge, just 6'5", 325, strong as can be. He's dominant in the run game. He'll finish blocks with everything he got. I mean, he's a pass pro anchor as well. He don't give up ground as much. I mean, he hasn't let up sacks like, I can't tell you the exact number, but it hasn't been a lot. I have on my paper, SEC proven. I mean, you play at Alabama, you play against guys that'll be in the NFL undoubtedly. I mean, Georgia, even any SEC school like Mizzou, with just competition. I mean, I think this conference produces more just straight out of competition, and as a lineman going up against these monster edge rushers and interior D linemen, D tackles, I think he's one of the greatest in this concept.
I think the biggest thing to look at is that early. I don't think anything really early is going to happen with this side of the squad. I think the earliest we might see is maybe the Chiefs. Chiefs looking towards Josh Connerly Jr. from Oregon. 6'5", 311. I mean, his pass protection is just awesome. I think personally best in this entire draft class for the offensive linemen. In this case, the Chiefs need to look towards that, training away a lot of their key guys in their past franchise that they have started up. They definitely need to look back into building that up for Patrick Mahomes, making sure that he can get that, and then whatever running back they decide to go with, making sure that they can create that run protection that they also need along with that pass protection. I see it in Connerly Jr.
Yeah, for me, Tyler Booker, I saw him. He's definitely the clear standout guy for me just because of his way he anchors down the offensive line is awesome in pass protection and run blocking. But another guy I like is Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. He's played 4 of the 5 offensive line positions. The only one he hasn't played is center. So he's going to add some great versatility to whatever team he gets drafted by. He's probably not going to be a first-round pick, but he definitely will go in the second if he doesn't go in the first. He's showed great explosiveness out of his lower body, and he's great at recognizing blitzes and recovering when he may get beat on the edge. So Gray Zabel will add great versatility to whatever team he joins in the NFL draft tomorrow night.
Are there any sleepers?
For my picks, no. I think a lot of these guys that they have just on the guard side, the tackle side, a lot of them are solid players. They've been able to play for a really long time and have been able to develop themselves. Like we said, versatility, I think, is one of the biggest things that this draft has. They have one of the biggest versatile classes overall. A lot of the guys know a lot of the different positions. I don't think anyone's really a sleeper. I think a lot of them are going to be great picks throughout the entire week.
You guys agree with that?
I couldn't agree more, honestly. Just to piggyback off a point that each of these two makes, Chase with the versatility and playing for maybe 5 positions on the offensive line, but you with the longevity. I mean, to be a good lineman, you don't have to win Super Bowls. We're looking for Pro Bowl selections off numerous years. Joe Thomas out of Cleveland many years ago. I mean, these are guys that are able to play any position on the line. And like a guy like Jared Wilson, interior center, can play guard as well. I think guys like that with more versatility definitely help you not only secure a spot on that 53-man roster, but keep that spot in going into future years and even not getting traded to a team, getting to that second contract.
I'm 100% on board with these two. I think the top end of this draft has so much pure talent. The thing that stood out to me was how explosive all of them have been when you watch their film. They are super aggressive, get into the blocking lanes, and make sure that their quarterbacks aren't getting sacked and their running backs are getting yards. So I think, at least for the top of the board, they look very strong. As we go down the board, I think they'll be very consistent.
The O-line class is stacked with talent, and teams in need of a protection are definitely in luck. Coming up, we will flip sides and talk edge rushers on Plead Your Case.
Have you ever been to the Everly Library? If not, you should, because it's great. They have books of all different genres: history, biography, fiction. Try The Evolution of Life, Life of Pi, or Jurassic Park. So what if books aren't your thing? Try movies like Frozen, or TV shows like Lost. Books and DVDs aren't the only thing though. Take a trip to the second floor. Welcome to the Writing Center. These tutors will tell you everything you need to know about writing a paper, and they'll help revise your essays. Now let's head back down. Behold, the Knox Learning Center. Need to print something out 5 minutes before your next class because you procrastinated? No problem. You can also print off pictures of dogs. Because, well, you can. So grab your homework, laptop, and textbook, and study diligently. Bring your lunch too. Actually, you can't. That's illegal. Now you know the Everly Library. Stop by anytime. Seriously, it's open all week.
We're taking a break from the NFL and heading to the hardwoods for this segment. At the end of our show, our seniors will wrap things up and give their final thoughts on the NFL draft. But for this special segment, we're bringing in our NBA specialists, and those guys are Dean Shazer, who's already been up here a couple of times. Brett, we'll call him Gambita Island.
What'd you do?
Next to Dean Shazer, and then over on the far end, Ron Brown. The NBA draft will be held on June 25th and 26th in Brooklyn, New York. Cooper Flagg has to be the first guy off the board here, right?
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, there's
100%.
There's no other way of looking at it. It's consensus.
Unlike last year when there was a question on the draft special on who the number 1 pick was going to be, Cooper Flagg is
and
the
those
guy.
guys ended up, you see what they're doing right
Exactly.
He
So,
has all the
yeah.
tools. The top 10 are all 18-year-olds. They're all freshmen, and the only dude is the kid from France, Traore, and he's young too. It's Cooper Flagg. He's everything. He's a 5-tool player. He's everything going for him. He's 18.
Now, after him, now that's a different story. I think the first 2 picks are kind of consensus.
Harper?
I think Dylan Harper should be the number 2 pick. A 6'6" guard. He can go out and shoot it. He's athletic. He can jump out the gym. He can dunk on anybody. He averaged 21 points this year. He needs to pick it up on his assist a little bit, but he's a true guard. He's somebody you can put him at the 1. You need him to go get a bucket. You can put him at the 2. You can do whatever. He kind of reminds me somewhat of like a more athletic James Harden.
I said more athletic Shea Gilgeous-Alexander myself.
I can
so
see that
I'm
too.
on the same
I can see
wavelength
that.
as you here.
Yeah, but like a more athletic James Harden. That's what I'd say. Who plays defense.
There's still a ways until the NBA draft. With the playoffs going on right now, a lot of people are interested in watching the Lakers and Timberwolves, not so much so who's going to be drafted their team next. But there's still time to talk about in advance here what we think is going to happen. Guys, was there a player in the March Madness bracket, obviously something that everybody watches, when they were in the limelight, was there a player that kind of rose their draft stock in March Madness?
Are we all going to say the same thing here?
I'm giving a different answer.
Yeah,
Okay.
regardless, I'm giving a different answer.
The most general, I was also going to give a different answer, but I guess I'll take the shine of light to put it upon him. Walter Clayton Jr., am I right?
Yeah.
Point guard from Florida. He ran that team. He ran the 5. Obviously, Alex Condon, another draft prospect, their center. But all Elijah Martin, the shooting guard, he was a big part in that run. But it was Walter Clayton Jr., back-to-back 30-point games from the point. He shot the lights out of the ball. Honestly, his player comparison is Damian Lillard, in my opinion, because he's a slasher more so compared to Stephen Curry, and he can shoot the lights out of the ball. So the obvious one is Walter Clayton Jr. His only downside is he's already developed at 22 years old.
That's the problem. Like, I don't understand that. The logic of these scouts and these GMs, that if it's a bad thing if a guy plays 3 or 4 years, it don't make a lot of sense because now you're getting a guy who's more seasoned than
Think
he's
about
18,
Buddy Hield.
19. Yeah.
Michael Jordan.
Well, that was a long
I
time
don't care.
ago. Everybody
I don't
played
care.
3 years back then.
Yeah.
You can't
Kobe.
compare. Everybody
Hakeem.
played. Everybody played 2 or 3 years back
Yeah,
then.
but
So
that's
a
the
lot
point.
of guys played 4.
Exactly.
So you can't compare
Since
it.
Dean took the lower hanging fruit in Walter Clayton, I'll go with Con Knipple for my sleeper. I think a lot of the eyes were on Cooper Flagg coming into Duke, into the March Madness, but Con Knipple, he kind of outshined Cooper Flagg in a couple of these games, had a great game against Alabama. Kind of reminds me of a Chris Middleton type of player. And I think he could be big for whatever team gets him, maybe going like 7th or 8th in the draft this year.
A guy that I'm going to keep at Duke, even though I hate Duke. I'm going to keep it Duke, though. Tyrese Proctor, a guy, he's like a typical Duke point guard. He reminds me like guys like Tyus Jones, Trey Jones. Even going back to someone like Bobby Hurley. He's like the traditional point guard. He's a textbook point guard. He's what Coach K probably would have loved him because he's so textbook. He's dishing the assist. He's getting the offense together. He's doing everything right, and he plays defense. He plays hard. He plays to win. Problem is, he's 22 years old. Like I said, I don't understand that one.
I'm sorry to elongate this, but the last one I wanted to say, a sleeper in the top 10 for me, the best guy outside of the top 3 picks in Harper and Bailey, the duo from Rutgers, the 2 freshmen that came in, and Cooper Flagg would be Egor Demon, small forward out of BYU. Like I said, he shoots. He's a consistent shooter. He can slash, and he's flashy. And in today's day and age, if you're flashy and you can shoot the ball in the NBA, you should have a successful career.
We've spent a lot of time on the guys that we think they could be at the top of their game and playable as soon as they get in the NBA. Is there anybody that could be a bust that is expected to be in the top 10 or so overall picks that could end up being a bust in the NBA?
I have a few bust candidates.
Okay, let's hear them.
Nolan Traore, Noah Esengun, and Hugo Gonzalez. Last year, every foreign player did not live up to the hype. Reese Shea did not live up to the hype. Sarr did not live up to the hype.
You can't say that,
TJ and
man.
Salon did not live up to the hype.
It was 1 year.
But I think GM
The league is ran by foreign
GM
players
should be
now.
skeptical. GM should be skeptical because last year's class didn't live up to the hype.
No, I can't say that because one bad apple don't make the whole batch bad. Like you,
Killian Hayes a couple years
I
ago.
think Nolan Traore had better stats than Zachary Reese-Shea last year. So I think
Then why isn't he projected to go in the top 3?
because you have somebody like Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, and Ace Bailey in the top 3.
I don't know if you guys like this, but the trend of the NBA, the fact that it's been more college at the front force over the last 3 years in the top picks, obviously Wembanyama and guys of that caliber, dudes you just mentioned, but you look at the top 10 beside Traore from France, they're all dudes that have hooped in college. And yeah, granted, they're all freshmen.
Mine is the top 15.
They're in the United States of America playing basketball. And we already see these guys. You don't get a glimpse of what they can do internationally. We don't know what they can do because we don't get that television. So I just like that the NBA draft is now leaning more towards college basketball.
As it
having
should,
the top picks.
because
Yeah,
that's
I agree.
there's more marketability in college basketball.
We're going busts. Who's your bust, Ron? I haven't heard it from you.
I don't know about this one. I really don't know, because I think a lot of these guys that I've seen over the top 15 picks, but I don't know about that.
I think mine right now, VJ Edgecombe, Baylor point guard. I don't know if he's quite ready for the league.
He's a two-guard.
I don't know if he's quite ready for the league.
He's kind of an in-betweener.
Apologies. But he lacks the athleticism compared to some of these guys, the 1s and 2s throughout the top 10 that you look at in Dylan Harper, Trey Johnson, Jeremiah Fears out of Oklahoma. I don't think he has quite the same athleticism. And I think another year at Baylor would actually serve him. Hopefully he stays healthy.
Somebody I could possibly I'm not gonna say he's a bust, but could be slightly overrated is Trey Johnson, because in the other categories, all he does is score. It seems like he only averaged 3 rebounds, he only averaged 2 assists. He don't really like to light up the stat sheet other than scoring.
And he doesn't impress you on defense.
He takes a lot of bad shots.
Kind of an undersized.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's a shot chucker.
Yeah.
Well, he's listed at 6'6", but he plays smaller than 6'6", if that makes sense. Like Cooper Flag,
you
he's
have to
6'9".
It doesn't matter if you're a guard or a center nowadays. You have to have the size in the NBA.
That's what I was going to say. Like Cooper Flag, he's listed as 6'9", and I saw player comparisons like Kevin Garnett, and I honestly loved that player comparison because Cooper Flag's dominant down low. He can get the boards, and he just plays with more heart. Kevin Garnett played like a 7-footer throughout his whole NBA career, especially with his length. So
I think it's just because of the time he came in the league. If Kevin Garnett came in the league today, it'd be different because he'd probably shoot threes. He'd probably dribble more. He wouldn't play.
That's why I like the comparison to Flag like a lot. So
yeah,
I feel like toward the end of Garnett's career, he started developing more into today's NBA. Like in the middle, like Celtics.
No, because I think he took
you just
less
opened
shots.
a whole can of worms with that
he
one.
Took less shots. He took less shots with the Celtics. He sacrificed to play with those guys. He was more of a defensive anchor.
And Pierce,
but I mean, Pierce is overrated, but that's another discussion for another day.
We're talking about the NBA draft, not Paul Pierce.
Well, the NBA Draft Combine will be held on May 11th to the 18th in Chicago. The first round of the draft starts on June 25th at 8 p.m. from Brooklyn, New York. When we come back, we're going to talk about edge rushers here on the panel. This is Plead Your Case.
Unable to watch the live stream? Follow our account on X for live updates on the game. Check us out on Instagram as well for game day posts with all the information you need to know, as well as behind the scenes of each production. Our social media team works the hardest to give the best content to all of our audience. We're even on TikTok. You can stay up to date with WCTV on our Instagram account with clips from each of our shows. And last but not least, subscribe to our WCTV YouTube channel to watch those shows in full length. Check us out from Lewiston, WCTV, and the entire Department of Comm.
It's time to dig into the war in the trenches, the edge rushers. This class has some monsters who can wreck game plans in seconds. One of those guys is Abdul Carter. Definitely could go number 1 overall. Some of the teams that need a defensive lineman are the Arizona Cardinals, Atlanta Falcons, Baltimore Ravens, Carolina Panthers, Cincinnati, Detroit. I'm Logan Arblaster, and I am with Wyatt Clatterbaugh, Mark Grove, and Luke Andrusick to discuss these edge rushers. Guys, outside of Walker and Campbell at the edge rush position, it doesn't appear like there's going to be a lot of guys that are better than that. Is there anybody that you guys think or excuse me, not Walker, Campbell, Carter, or Pierce. Is there anybody else that you guys think could go in the first round?
Yeah, I think this edge rusher class is very, very deep. There's guys like, as you mentioned, Abdul Carter and James Pierce. Jalen Walker, he's more likely going to be a linebacker at the next level. He played half and half. He played sometimes as the Mike, sometimes he rushed off the edge. You have other guys like Shamar Stewart, who's a freak athlete. Michael Williams, who he's not my favorite prospect, but he's still going to be good. Nick Scorton, Mike Green, Jack Sawyer, and JT Tuimoloau. Princely Uman Mielin, and guys like Jordan Birch, who I'm a big fan of, along with Donovan Izaruwaku.
Just for first round, I mean, Mike Green, I think, could slide anywhere from like the teens to the 20s. Shamar Stewart, I love his game out of Texas A&M. But Michael Williams, he floated back and forth from linebacker to edge. So, I mean, it depends on what team he gets drafted to. Maybe some team will develop him as an edge, or maybe some team he'll fit more as an outside linebacker. But Michael Williams has been one of my most underrated prospects to look. I think it's all about development and what team he fits in with most.
Yeah, I think they didn't mention Nick Scorton, but I have two on here. Mike Green, first of all, from Marshall. Dude had 17 sacks and 3 forced fumbles this season with Marshall. Dude was an absolute monster for Marshall. And then I also have Donovan Ezeraku from Boston College. That man had 16 and a half sacks, 3 forced fumbles. The dude was all over the place for Boston College. So I think you can't go wrong with either of those two guys. Shamar Stewart, I'm not the biggest fan of him. Only 1.5 sacks for Texas A&M last year. So we'll see what happens. But those are my 2 picks, in Mike Green and Donovan Ezeraku.
7 edge rushers are ranked inside ESPN's top 25. Abdul Carter, he's projected to go first off the board. He's ESPN's number 1 player overall in this whole draft. Will he get selected first? Do the Titans take him off the board right away? If the Browns take him, pairing him with Myles Garrett could be an extreme issue for some offenses. Luke, you give the thumbs down. Where do you think Carter is going to go?
I think he's going to go number 3 to the New York Football Giants, seemingly because Tennessee is going to take Cam Ward at 1. Everyone knows that. And right now, everyone's saying the Browns are either going to trade back or they're going to take Travis Hunter at the 2 spot. And if you're the Giants, I don't know if you're sold on Shedeur Sanders being your quarterback of the future. So you take the best player available, and that would be Abdul Carter. Even though I don't think he's hyped up. He's hyped up way too much for, I think, the talent he is. He is the number 1 edge rusher in this draft, but I don't think he's like those guys like Myles Garrett type prospect. Where they're just freak athletes who just cause havoc. I don't think Abdul Carter will really be at that level.
I would say, he's probably 3rd because the Browns, they're probably going to pick, Travis Hunter. That would be my pick. Cam Ward 1, Travis Hunter 2. And the Giants, they got to find somebody to team up with Kayvon Thibodeau, because Thibodeau really hasn't really progressed as he was promised to out of the draft. So I think drafting a guy like Abdul Carter, who kind of is that Micah Parsons-esque build, and kind of, I'm not saying he's going to be Micah Parsons, but he has that kind of talent-wise for him. But I think pairing him along Kayvon Thibodeau, I think that would be a great way to start building up a very poor Giants defense.
Well, I like both of your guys' take. However, I'm going to stick with Abdul Carter going to the Browns, and the reason I say this, the Giants already have Kayvon Thibodeau. They have Brian Burns. They have Dexter Lawrence. And Abdul Carter had 68 total tackles, 43 solos, 25 assisted, 12 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles at Penn State last year. You pair him with a guy like Myles Garrett. They don't have another edge rusher to really bounce off of Myles Garrett in Cleveland. I think Abdul Carter going to Cleveland makes a lot of sense here. You get that extra edge rusher to help out Myles Garrett in that situation. So give me Abdul Carter, number 2 overall pick, to the Cleveland Browns.
He's able to rush the passer, cover in space. He had 12 sacks and 2 forced fumbles last year. Is there a late round pick that you guys think could have some breakout potential of this group?
Yeah, Wyatt's been talking a lot about production that these guys have done at the college level. So for example, you said Mike Green led the league or led Division I in sacks last year with 17, which is very impressive. But I don't think prospects should purely be based on production at the college level. I think there's some guys that are freak athletes in this edge rusher class. For example, we have Donovan Ezeraka, who I think is going to be a late first-round pick. He's a freak athlete. Shamar Stewart, he's highly touted, but he's a freak athlete. I think he could develop into a very good player. Other guys, like Jordan Birch is one of the guys that I like from Oregon. He is a freak athlete and has long arms that allows him to keep space from his blockers and win the pass rushing opportunities. And also Jared Ivey from Ole Miss. He's 6'6", 285, but plays faster than he looks. And he's the most well-rounded edge in this draft, in my opinion. I think he's an absolute stud, and whoever takes him in the draft is going to get a steal.
Yeah, I think Jared Ivey was one of the players I had for a good value pick there later in the draft, rather it's second round, third round. But a guy, as you're talking about freak athletes, going to be Landon Jackson. He really flew up the boards after his Combine and Senior Bowl performance, especially the Senior Bowl where he's going up against tackles. And he was in the SEC with Arkansas, went up against Will Campbell, one of the better tackles. So, I mean, he's definitely going to be a raw prospect. But I think if he's given the right tools and the right coaching staff, I think he'll have a big opportunity to shine in this league.
Yeah, for me, I think obviously Luke touched on it. Donovan Ezeraka, definitely a sleeper pick here. Like I said, Shamar Stewart, kind of a guy that I could see maybe falling later in the first, maybe into the second. But a guy you guys really haven't talked about much, but he is an Ohio State guy, Jack Sawyer. I know a lot of people aren't really high on Sawyer. He was one of the guys that you saw, and while he wasn't that productive at Ohio State, he's still a freak athlete. A team like Detroit, you could pair him with Aiden Hutchinson very well. I could see him going to a lot of different teams. I think he goes in the third, maybe fourth round of the draft, but Jack Sawyer is one of my sleeper picks along with Donovan Ezeraka as well.
All right, this D-line group has the potential to shape defensive units for years. It really does. When we come back, we'll bring you some more action here with the linebackers on Plead Your Case.
Gotcha.
Fading up to Tyler and Mia in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Mia Hinkins.
And I'm Tyler Aaron, and welcome
to Jacket Sports Weekly.
Well, before we get into the linebackers, it's time for the defensive tackles here on the 2025 NFL Draft Special, all live on Plead Your Case. Once again, I'm Logan Arblaster here this time with Chase Paseko, Anthony DeFilippo, and Mike McKenzie. This is a very good defensive line class, I would say. Where do you guys think the top guys land?
I'm going to start off with Mason Graham from Michigan. Obviously, he's the number one guy. The only knock on his game is size, but he more than makes up for that with his football IQ and how sound he is fundamentally and technically. I think it's a matter of where he goes in the top 10. I think he goes 5 to Jacksonville. I know that there was talk in the running back segment about Ashton Genty going there, but I think Jacksonville really needs to shore up that defense. They got to give Trevor Lawrence chances to win games. I think they've got enough offensively in terms of pieces around him, so I think that they got to go with that defensive front. Mason Graham, I'm big on him out of Michigan. I think he goes number 5 to Jacksonville. That's where I think he goes. Looking at Kenneth Grant, I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he falls to number 21. I think he'd be held in much higher regard if he didn't play next to Mason Graham his entire college career. Absolute athletic freak at his size. So many great things about Kenneth Grant's game. I think he goes to the Steelers at 21. Derek Harmon, I think he falls to 27 and goes to the Ravens. Another guy that had a big breakout season for Oregon. A bit of inconsistency at times with Michigan State. Broke out at Oregon last season with a full consistent season. Maybe that early season or the early career struggles a little bit at Michigan State drive teams to stay away from him early in the first round. I think he goes to the Ravens. Walter Nolan, another athletic freak, some refinement in some other areas, but he reminds me a lot of Amarius Mims. Just athletic freak. You can see the potential in his game, very similar to what the Bengals took with Mims last year. I think the Bengals go with another SEC guy who's just athletic freak. They want to build off that project.
I don't get why people are so high on Ashton Genty going to Jacksonville at 5. They don't need a running back. They have ETN and they have Bigsby. They have two solid guys who could really, play the running back position. I think Mason Graham will probably go, I agree with you, will probably go to Jacksonville at 5. He could even slide to Carolina at 8. Or Carolina could take Walter Nolan, or Derek Harmon or Kenneth Grant could slide to the Steelers. I think Harmon probably goes. San Fran has a need at defensive tackle. They could probably go with Harmon there. There's a bunch of guys, like you mentioned. It's a deep group. It's one of the better and deeper positions in this draft class.
Yeah, I'm 100% with the both of you. I have Mason Graham going to Jacksonville, but if for some reason Jacksonville does go that Ashton Genty route, I see Chicago being another great option for Mason Graham if he can fall to that number 10 slot. Also, Walter Nolan, I think San Fran is going to be a great shout. I can also see him making it to Seattle if for some reason one of the offensive linemen don't make it to 18 for Seattle. Derek Harmon, I have going to Pittsburgh. And Kenneth Grant, I think, will slide into that end of the first round, early second round. Just a super impressive bunch overall.
I don't think Graham makes it past Carolina, though. I really think Carolina will take Mason Graham.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some of the teams that need a defensive lineman could be the Steelers, Chiefs, Jacksonville, Buffalo. I've heard a lot of rumors of Derek Harmon potentially coming to Pittsburgh. Is there any sleeper picks that you guys could find out of this class?
I don't know if it's as much of a sleeper as much as a second round, I think, great value pick. Darius Alexander, defensive tackle out of Toledo, 6'4", 310 pounds. He's got the build of an NFL defensive tackle. He can drive offensive linemen back, super powerful player, gets his hands into passing lanes, kind of like Cam Hayward. We've seen that a lot with the Steelers, gets his hand up in the passing lanes. He was one of the leaders in the MAC in passes batted at the line of scrimmage. I like his ability to fill rushing lanes. There's some things that he needs to improve on. Main development levels will be pad level and hand placement for him, but I think he's a guy, maybe a year or two project, but he's got a shot out of the gate to have a big impact for whichever team drafts him, but the build and just his power, the power that he plays with, just overall makes him a very intriguing prospect. He's going to get picked in the middle to late second round. Whoever picks him up is going to get a good guy.
I hate to keep going back to the Ohio State but Tyleik Williams is my sleeper for this draft. That's not to say that he probably isn't going to be a second-round pick or an early third-round pick. I just think he's a talented defensive lineman. He has some of those injury concerns. He has some of those stamina concerns. He is listed at 6'3", 330 pounds. So will his endurance kind of keep up as he continues on throughout his NFL journey? Where does he get drafted? Probably late second round, early third round.
Yeah, for me, I got two guys. Number one, Kenneth Grant, who Mike hit on a bit earlier. I think I 100% agree with you. With Mason Graham taking so much attention there, Kenneth Grant doesn't get nearly enough credit for his performance at Michigan. It was 3 sacks, 7 TFLs this past season. Not too crazy numbers, but he's a nose tackle. You don't get crazy sack numbers at the nose tackle position. This is a guy who's able to anchor the defensive line and make sure that the running backs can't get through. He's willing to take on multiple blockers and push through. The second guy I have is Shamar Turner out of Texas A&M. He's slightly undersized, 6'3", 290, a little bit smaller of a guy you'd like on D-tackle. But what I really loved out of him was his ability to get in the running lanes and use his strong hands to disrupt the pocket and get to the quarterback.
We brought up a lot of names so far. Is there any that we missed that we need to circle back on, somebody that we haven't highlighted yet?
I don't think there's anybody that we haven't highlighted yet. I agree with Anthony. Tyleik Williams, I think he should be a first-round pick. He'll go early second round, I think. I want to circle back to Kenneth Grant and just highlight how good of a guy that he is. He beats double teams easily. He's superb in run defense, gets off the line quickly, great play recognition, gets his hands into passing lanes when, the pass rush isn't there. I already mentioned a bit of similarities in Darius Alexander's game to Cam Hayward, but this guy, Kenneth Grant, so many similarities to Cam Hayward, especially with his size and his athletic nature. He's a freak athlete and all the great things. He's refined in a lot of the little areas that guys like Walter Nolan and Derek Harmon may need some development in. Kenneth Grant, he'd be a top 10 pick if Mason Graham wasn't on the same defensive line as him this past year. And he could fall to the 20s. He's going to be an absolute stud. He's the most sure of any player I am in this draft that he's going to pan out outside of the top 5, top 10 guys.
Yeah, I am interested to see where Derek Harmon ultimately lands. I think you're probably looking early second round for him. I think you're looking for teams like maybe New Orleans right at the beginning of that second round to grab him. But he's good. He has good frame. He has good hand technique. Late first kind of seems a little bit early for him. I think early second is probably where you're going to see him. There are a couple teams with some needs up there. I think you're looking probably New Orleans. I'm not going to make a bet on it, but I'd say New Orleans.
Yeah, and for me, it's Walter Nolan. 14.5 tackles for loss last season, along with 6.5 stats. Then those are some crazy numbers coming out of an SEC school like Ole Miss, facing those high-powered offenses of the SEC. Just super impressive, the motor he has, able to pursue running backs, receivers down the field, able to track them down, and able to disrupt people at the line of scrimmage using his strong hands and able to get to the quarterback.
How valuable is, after watching the Eagles in the Super Bowl and how dominant their defensive line is, how valuable is it now to replicate what the Eagles did? Do you think that's going to change teams' plans during the draft?
I think the Eagles perfected exactly what they were going to do, and a lot of teams are obviously going to try to copy that strategy. I'm not sure if that's the number one way to go win a Super Bowl and beat the Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and the Kansas City Chiefs. But obviously, a lot of teams are going to try to replicate that. This is the perfect class for teams to do that in the draft. You mentioned how deep this defensive tackle class is. I think the linebackers are very solid as well, the edge rushers. In the first round, there's going to be a lot of guys that come off the board. I'm not sure exactly how valuable it's going to be to try to build your team like that, considering about half the league is going to go that route. But again, it's not going to be shocking to see a lot of D tackles fly off the board early. I wouldn't be surprised if in the second round we see an early run on D tackles as well to start day 2.
That's why I'm so confused that Ashton Jeanty is the odds-on favorite to go to Jacksonville, because they already have capable running backs. They need a guy like Mason Graham who can go in there, can stop the run. He's scheme versatile. He's NFL ready. He's ready to get into any defense in the NFL. And if Jacksonville is serious about this, they need to draft Mason Graham in the top 5. Don't let him slip to Carolina.
Yeah, with this group of D tackles, these are the perfect guys you want in the trenches, fighting those wars against the offensive line. Mason Graham, Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon, even Kenneth Grant, all probably going to be first-round picks. So that's a great start if you're building to a defensive line. Even if you already have great defensive linemen around them, these will be amazing pieces to add to continue that battle in the trenches.
All right, we previewed and gave a complete breakdown of the defensive tackles. And stay right here because we have more on the other side on Plead Your Case.
Oh, I didn't see you there. I'm Mia Hinkins, and welcome to Buell Hall, home of Waynesburg University's Department of Communication. If you visit our campus, you'll have the opportunity to attend some comm classes, enjoy lunch with our students, and watch us in action. We hope to see you here soon at Waynesburg University.
To schedule your personal visit, go to waynesburg.edu/admissions/schedule-visit. Come grow with us at Waynesburg University.
Old school meets new school. We're breaking down the linebackers. This year's class is projected to be the worst out of all the position groups, and it includes Jahad Campbell, Jalen Walker, Carson from UCLA, Demetrius Knight Jr., Chris Paul Jr. That's the top 5. I'm Logan Arblaster, here joined with Benicio DeFalco, Anthony DeFilippo, and Luke Andrusik to discuss the linebackers. So now I'll ask the question, outside of Walker and Campbell, will there be another linebacker drafted in the first round this year?
I would like to say no. It's going to be Jalen Walker and Jahad Campbell from Alabama. some guys, those are the two guys that are going to be drafted in the first round. No other guys really worthy of a first-round grade. Demetrius Knight and Carson Schweschinger are two guys that I've talked to other people and they like. Also, Danny Stutzman from Oklahoma. He's a beast. He's one of my favorite players to watch in this draft. So those guys might be second or third-round picks, but other than Campbell and obviously Walker, no.
Well, it's interesting to me because Walker is listed as both an edge guy, and they talked about him on the edge segment, and he's also listed as a linebacker. He probably profiles as more of an edge guy. So I think a true linebacker, it'll probably be just Campbell, the only guy from Alabama, obviously, drafted in the first round. I think Schweschinger can make a push, the guy from UCLA that Logan talked about right at the top. Demetrius Knight is probably a sleeper. He's a guy who could go day 2 for sure, who's going to go day 2 for sure. But I think outside of that, it's just going to be Campbell. And then if you consider him a linebacker, Walker.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Flip. Campbell is an athletic freak. He actually started off playing that edge rusher position, kind of similar to Micah Parsons. We can see him drop back into coverage, but also pass rush. I like the next guy up in terms of a true linebacker, not really too much of an edge rusher, and that's Carson Schweschinger. I'm a big fan of his game. He can pass rush and cover. He's great in the run game. He's not as much as an athletic freak that Campbell is in terms of combine numbers and stuff like that. But I think Schweschinger can be a great day 2 guy. But in terms of linebackers in the first round, it's got to be Jalen Walker and Jahad Campbell. I think they both go top 15.
I think the one thing about Schweschinger that I just wanted to add, I think his football IQ makes up for some of that athleticism that he may be lacking on. You know, he did have 90 total tackles last year, so he's an athletic guy, but he's also a very smart guy, too.
90 tackles on a struggling UCLA
Right, on a struggling
Bruins team.
UCLA roster.
Being a bright spot on a team that's struggling can just kind of show you how valuable a guy like that is. I know UCLA, they've kind of been known for the defensive side of things, and especially in the past recent drafts, and I think they landed another one in Carson Schweschinger.
Yeah, and those 90 tackles, Anthony, that you mentioned, the most in the entire country, most solo tackles. Who is a linebacker? Benny, you kind of already gave Diamond in the Rough kind of. Any classic run stuffers left? Is there a linebacker that breaks out here later in the second or third rounds?
Benny, you go first.
I got Cody Simon from Ohio State. He's the most underrated player on that national championship team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You look at the game versus Texas, he flew all over the place. He's just a true number 1 linebacker. He's great in man coverage. He can pass rush. He's not the greatest in the pass rush, but he's also great in the run support. He's a 3-down linebacker, and I think a team could get a stud late in Cody Simon.
Yeah, Luke already kind of mentioned him a little bit, but I think Demetrius Knight is a guy who's extremely athletic. He's extremely versatile. He was a good linebacker at South Carolina. I'll be kind of interested to see where he goes, whether he's a late day 2 guy or a day 3 guy. But I think he's a guy with a little bit of development, with a little bit of time in a specific system, whether it works out or not, whether it's the Colts. I could see the Colts really going after Demetrius Knight. They have a need at linebacker, so it'll be interesting to see where he lands.
Well, my pick was taken. I should have went first. Cody Simon led the
Ohio State
defense to a national championship this past college football playoff. But I'm going to go with Shmuel Mondin Jr. He's an elite athlete with great pursuit techniques. He's a sideline-to-sideline linebacker, freak athlete who has faced some ankle injuries within the past couple of years. I think he's currently maybe a late 3rd to early 4th-round draft pick. That's the potential he's at. That's where he's ranked right now. But I think he has the potential to be somewhere of a late 1st-round draft pick type of guy.
You guys see how much that a Ryan Shazier-esque sideline-to-sideline linebacker can transform a defense, but really the past few years, the linebacker groups have been the weakest. It hasn't just been this year. It's been past years. What can you guys speak to as it pertains to that?
Well, I think it's kind of what Benny talked about earlier with all these Micah Parsons kind of popping up. There's teams out there at the college level that are even trying to make those kind of players right there where they're listed as more of edge guys, but they really do play off ball a lot as well. I just kind of think that's why true linebackers are really becoming a scarcity, especially moving up the college ranks. But, yeah, I think some of those edge guys can even profile as linebackers, and that could even strengthen this group.
Kind of similar to the running back position in terms of once you get to the NFL, And almost at the college level, too, these guys have to learn 2 positions, being an edge rusher, defensive end, and also an interior and outside linebacker. It's tough for these guys to really get a true position, and I think that's what makes evaluating linebackers and kind of what brings the stock down so much. And if you look across the linebackers in the league, there's some great linebackers. I know Fred Warner, year in and year out, he's the best middle linebacker in the league. But outside of Fred Warner, there's not too many names that really come to mind in terms of the top guys and top defensive names in the NFL. So I think the linebacker position is kind of just dying at the moment. But similar to the running back position, you mentioned the Micah Parsons. I think these guys still have a lot of value, and Parsons is still going to have to get paid. So I think these guys, the stock in linebackers is only going up.
Yeah, I think the NFL, the most important thing about linebackers today is them to be versatile. Guys like Abdul Carter and Micah Parsons, and guys in the draft like Demetrius Knight Jr. or guys like Danny Stutzman, who are great blitzing linebackers who are playing the Mike linebacker or the will linebacker and not necessarily lining up to rush the edge every play. Being versatile in the fact that you can rush and you can play in coverage, and you're a good run stopper. I think that's what's most important in the NFL today. Like you said, not many stars that are playing the linebacker position in the NFL today other than guys like Warner and, got to say, J.O.K. is my favorite. But, yeah, I think versatility and being able to be consistent in the NFL is what is needed today. And that's why I think some of these guys like Schlesinger and Cody Simon down later in the draft could be really good players that are, maybe even special team help guys.
Yeah, I just one last thing. I think some of these guys you're almost drafting off potential.
Yep.
I know outside of Schlesinger, not a lot of these guys have that 90 tackles. I know Schlesinger led everybody in this class, but just in terms of the tackles, and you're kind of just almost purely going off tape. How good can these guys pass rush? Are these guys involved in the run and also the pass game? You have to be able to cover those 3 aspects and be third down linebacker.
That's why I think
succeed.
Looking at the athletic profile of prospects is very important. It's not so much the production of what they did. It's how can we find a guy who's just a freak athlete who we can develop into a guy that is going to produce for us.
Yeah, and this linebacker class may not have a Micah Parsons, and it looks like maybe the weakest position group this year, but there are still some interesting talents like Jalen Walker who can be versatile on the top of teams' lists. Coming up next, we're heading to the ice. We're talking NHL here on the Plead Your Case Live Draft Special.
I'm working here. My bad.
We're moving to the ice for the penultimate special segment for the night, and we're turning to the guys that know hockey better than anyone else. Those guys are Ethan Spazarski, Anthony DeFilippo, and Tyler Aaron. What do fans need to know about this NHL draft that takes place on June 27th and 28th from Los Angeles? What prospects are you guys most excited for?
Well, I'm just going to start out flat out. This isn't a strong NHL draft class this year. Obviously, I'm already kind of looking towards 2026 in that draft class. Obviously, there's some franchise potential players in that one. But although there really isn't a consensus number 1 overall pick, I have to look at Matthew Schaefer here, defenseman on the Erie Otters, right up state, pretty much right on the New York border up there. But he has a dominant two-way game, and just the whole scheme of things that Erie has defensively. It's very impressive. And only in 17 games he's played 22 points, 7 goals, 15 assists. it's very impressive, especially from a defenseman coming out of the OHL. It's one of the top prospect leagues when it comes to getting into the NHL. Obviously, I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Michael Misa here too as well from the Saginaw Spirit of the OHL as well. I mean, he already has over 50 goals and 100 points already right now. Second fastest draft-eligible player in the last 25 seasons in the OHL to reach the 50 goal mark. And the last person to do that was in 2006, 2007. That was Patrick Kane. He did it. And Michael Misa did it in 3 less games than Patrick Kane did it.
That guy sounds familiar. I think he might be pretty good hockey.
Patrick Kane might be okay. Michael Misa, if not for the injury of Matthew Schaefer, he would be the consensus number 1 overall pick. It's unfortunate that he got hurt at the World Juniors. But Michael Misa is an OHL guy who scored over 60 goals this year. The first guy to do it since Connor McDavid did for the Erie Otters. Shout out Pennsylvania. Back in the day. I'm also looking at guys like Victor Eklund. You're looking at a couple of those Swedish guys. Anton Frondell, 2 guys who are playing in the same exact league. And then James Higgins from Boston College. I would be remiss if I didn't mention him. If the Penguins were able to potentially slide up into the top 5, I would take James Higgins. I think the Braden Point comparison, which I saw from a lot of mock drafts, is a little overzealous. But I think a guy like Higgins and then the Swedish guys, very good players, and then obviously the OHL guys as well.
Something worth noting, last year to this year, we saw a lot more guys like the NCAA, or I mean, even North America, really, that have really been making more notable names. Traditionally in the past, it's gone more foreign overseas, where there has been a lot of talent overall. I think, though, right now, like you said, the top 3 guys are your top 3 guys. I mean, with Schaefer, Mesa, and Higgins, I think overall those are going to be your consistent guys. NHL.com's got a lot of different guys bouncing up and down from where they were at halfway through the season to now. And I think what you said earlier, TA, was dead on, perfect. There is no real Connor McDavids, Macklin Celebrinis. There's no really outlying top-tier expected talent. However, there is still some that should be going really well. I think there's a lot of potential here. Kind of like, I guess if we could bring up the last segment with the linebackers, you're drafting on potential. And I think as well, something to note, the NHL follows up like the NBA and mostly the MLB. Most of these guys are going to start out in the minor leagues. They're going to start at lower levels. They're not immediately just going to jump out first line and they're just going to make an sudden impact. I think it's going to take time to develop these guys. But the top 3, I think, really have rounded out and really are just kind of an overall really exciting feature for the NHL.
That's an interesting note because years past, you look at this and you see a couple guys who can potentially jump to the NHL right away. Obviously, last year it was Macklin Celebrini. And there were a couple other players in that mix. This year, I don't see one single guy who I'm like, okay, this guy is going to the league day 1. Maybe it would be Matthew Schaefer, but like I said, he got injured. James Higgins will probably go directly to the league just because a team that picks him in the top 5 will just send him there, whether it be Nashville or another team like that. But I'm not looking at this draft saying, hey, this guy's going to be an NHL stud day 1.
You guys are all Penguins fans, and you know them better than anybody else. Flip.
Not unfortunately.
I love my Penguins.
Yes, you do.
Love
on our hockey segment last week, you put on a Penguins hat even.
Yeah.
Anthony worked for the Penguins as an intern this semester. You guys, give me who you think the Penguins are going to select here. Can they pick the next Sidney Crosby in this draft?
Well, I don't think it's going to be the next Sidney Crosby, as much as I would love that to be. But I kind of want to go towards the racetracks. Question mark here. Roger McQueen, Lightning McQueen, because this guy is fast.
They're not related, okay? We're not going to mislead our viewers.
They're not related, but this guy is fast. Obviously, he's projected to go around that top 5, mid-top 10 here, which is probably what the Penguins are going to end up. Obviously, they have the 8th best odds here for the first overall pick at a 5%. But Roger McQueen, 20 points in 17 games just in the playoffs for the Brandon Wheat Kings of the WHL. I mean, obviously, his puck movement is great. He's fast, obviously. His two-way game, tremendous. And honestly, just his speed, honestly. I just got to keep on going back to speed. But the way he maneuvers around the defense, get into the slot, into those tight areas, into the corners, I mean, he is a two-way player.
Yeah, I like me a center with some reach. He's got some size on him as well. He's 6'5", weighing in at about 200 pounds. And I mentioned it in the last segment. I think one thing I really value in players is their IQ. I love players with hockey IQ. I love players with football IQ. And Roger McQueen certainly fits that bill. He's a smart hockey player. He has reach. He has obviously good puck control that goes along with that. He's able to maintain possession, create scoring opportunities. If he slides to 9, I'm hoping the Pittsburgh Penguins obviously jump to somewhere in the top 5 or even number 1. But if the Penguins stay at 9 as they are right now, Roger McQueen would be a fantastic pick. I know Porter Martone won't fall that far, but we haven't mentioned him. He's another guy who could go in the top 5. He is a really, really good hockey player. Had almost 100 points in the OHL this year. Captain Canada's U18 team at one point.
I think right now the Penguins farm system has a lot of potential to really make an impact there. I think we haven't really talked about Wilkes-Barre at all right now. I think there's a lot of potential down there.
You couldn't say that last year, by the way. This exact time you couldn't say that
exactly.
at all.
Well, and what's nice to see about it is you're like, all right, we can recognize that and look forward and start bringing those guys up. But I'm with you. Me though, I want to be a little more pay attention to defense. I think with Chris Letang at any day or point, he should retire here soon health-wise. I think you got to address that sooner than later. Don't fall in the trap like the Steelers did with Big Ben. Don't get someone the year he steps aside and he retires. Look forward into the future. Maybe start paying attention to these other guys. I understand the farm system down with Wilkes-Barre works out, but I mean, even if you are looking ahead or you just continue to be maybe more transparent towards everything. I mean, Logan Hensler right now, he looks to be kind of falling exactly where the Penguins need that sweet spot, potentially where their draft order is going to fall. I mean, with the Wisconsin kid out of the Big Ten, I really do think, though, that the Penguins could go right in any position, really, because there's a lot of questions that need answered, especially after what we saw this year. And as we know, it's only a matter of time. The clock is ticking on Crosby, Malkin, Letang. The clock is ticking. What's going to happen there? What are the guys we're going to bring up? You thought it'd be Jake Getzel. It's not anymore. He's now in Tampa Bay. You now Brian Rust. Who are you going to kind of fill in there? Because Rusty's getting old too. The Rust shakes aren't forever, you know.
Well, the answer there is Rucker McGroarty and Ville Koivunen.
Yep.
But you know that's I think if
among others.
But in the NHL and like with the MLB, you have to take the best player available because these guys, like you mentioned, Ethan, earlier in the segment, they have time to develop, and you know they have to take a couple years in the minor leagues. For most cases, with the Penguins pick, that'll be exactly the case. He won't be up for another couple years until the post-Crosby era. So for the Penguins, they really have a need everywhere. If you're looking 2 or 3 years down the line, you have to take BPA and just roll with the punches after that.
The Penguins definitely are in a mode that they're maybe not necessarily rebuilding while Malkin, Crosby, and Letang are all still there, but they're definitely trying to reload. That'll do it for the NHL talk, but we're not done yet. It's the corners next on Plead Your Case.
Unable to watch the live stream? Follow our account on X for live updates on the game. Check us out on Instagram as well for game day posts with all the information you need to know, as well as behind the scenes of each production. Our social media team works the hardest to give the best content to all of our audience. We're even on TikTok. You can stay up to date with WCTV on our Instagram account with clips from each of our shows. And last but not least, subscribe to our WCTV YouTube channel to watch those shows in full length. Check us out from Lewiston, WCTV, and the entire Department of Comm.
I'm working here. My bad.
We're in preparation of tomorrow night's NFL draft. It's the Titans on the clock first at 8. Get ready for the lockdown crew. We're breaking down the cornerbacks Whether it's ball skills or physicality or pure speed, this year's corners are diverse. They're a dangerous bunch. There are 5 corners expected to be taken in the first round this year, and those corners are highlighted by Travis Hunter, also Will Johnson, Maxwell Hairston, Thomas, and Barron on the list. We have to talk about Travis Hunter. He could be the greatest cornerback of all time. Would you guys agree with that?
No.
No.
No?
No. No.
Is it his coach at Colorado that beats him out?
Probably, yeah.
I think potential-wise, he could. He's an athletic freak. We haven't seen an athlete like this. He's a Heisman Trophy winner.
Don't think he's 6'5".
Not only a cornerback, but also a receiver. If he's anything as advertised, this guy can completely break the market in terms of payroll. We just saw Derek Stingley get a big bag, and if this guy can also play receiver, he's going to be the highest paid cornerback of all time, and I think this guy can break the market and also kind of change the position. We're already seeing college players this year play both defense and offense, at least in the spring game. We got to see it actually in season, but this guy is changing the sport as we know it.
Travis Hunter, a great cornerback prospect, but I don't think we really have to talk about him because he's going at number 2 tomorrow to the Cleveland Browns, and he's going to play wide receiver, and he's going to play cornerback on third down snaps. I do think he's going to still play both sides. I think it's mostly going to be a wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns, and he's going to play corner on third downs.
He won't succeed playing both sides in the NFL. Quite simply, point blank, he won't succeed. He's told teams that he wants to. Obviously, he wants to play both ways, but in order to become the greatest player he can be, he needs to focus on one side of the ball. That's the only way you can improve is if you focus on one side of the ball. I don't think he can play both ways. It's never been done before.
You don't like the thought of playing him on maybe first and second down and on offense and then third downs on defense?
I feel like that'll just create too much
He's not going to play the snaps that he's playing in college.
No,
in terms
he's not
of
gonna play every snap.
wear and tear, the NFL is completely different to college. And along with that, Travis Hunter, he's a guy that could add a little bit of weight as well. I don't know how many hits he can take, but if he focuses on the defensive side of things and kind of did what we saw Deion Sanders, his mentor, do and get some snaps at receiver, especially in the red zone, and we see him get red zone touchdowns. What's the NFL love? They love touchdowns. They love touchdown celebrations. This guy, he's all about that stuff. So this guy could be the face of the NFL. And like I said, this guy completely changed the market as we know it.
There's 5 corners, including Hunter, that are expected to go in the first round this year. Is it easier than ever to find lockdown corners in the draft? I remember there was times where there would be a whole draft and there would be no lockdown corners in this year. 5 corners could go in the first round.
It's not as easy as it sounds because if you look at some of the recent drafts, teams have struggled to find that number 1 corner. You think of the Lions taking a swing and miss at Jeff Okudah. He was the 3rd overall pick in the draft. Where's he at now? His 5th team?
Yeah.
Same thing with C.J. Henderson in the same draft.
Forbes.
Exactly. Noah I as well. But many teams have found these late corners as well that have proved to be lockdowns. Like you think of Deron Bland and Reek Woolen. Those guys were 5th-round picks in the same class and ended up being amazing.
Yeah, I think some of these cornerback prospects are really hyped up by the competition they play in college. All these guys look like amazing prospects and guys that every team wants their hands on when they're on paper and their hypotheticals, before the draft. But then these guys end up being average athletes compared to NFL receivers and other corners in the NFL. Usually, some of the guys at the top that go at the top in the first couple of rounds, a couple of them aren't going to pan out, and a guy that gets drafted in the 5th or through 7th round might pan out. Cornerback is such a athletically driven position that the lesser athletes will fall behind, and I think that's why prospects. I don't think it's easy to acquire lockdown corners, especially with the NFL being such a passing oriented league right now.
I'll say this. I think it's easy to find average to decent corners, but in terms of a true lockdown number 1 corner, it's still very hard to find. I mean, if you think about some of the top prospects that we've seen recently, Kool-Aid and Terrion Arnold, the verdict's still out for them. Joey Porter Jr., just 2 seasons ago, verdict's still out with him, whether he's a lockdown corner or he's not going to be a rotation guy, but in terms of his true value, guys, they draft guys to be lockdown corners. We mentioned Emmanuel Forbes. He's on his 2nd team now. Verdict's still up with him. Whether he's even going to stay on the Rams this season is kind of in question. It's very hard to draft a cornerback position, especially the modern corner, where they're extremely undersized, and they also have to be able to go up in the run game too. Kind of similar to linebacker. You have to do all aspects on the defensive side of things to be an elite cornerback in today's game.
There's a lot of rangy corners built for press coverage in this class. Obviously, the corner position pretty high in demand, but maybe not as easy to find the lockdown guys. Is there any bust from this group with there being so many players projected to go so high? Is there anybody that you think is definitely going to be a bust in this class?
Azarie Thomas. Very slow. If he gets drafted into a team that has like a cover 3 kind of defense, maybe he'll succeed. But I don't see him succeeding because that doesn't really mesh with his play style. He's kind of a physical corner. I think he could get beat over the top very easily, and just depending on what team drafts him could really determine his fate. But he is only 20 years old as well, so what do I know? Maybe teams could work with him. He's got a lot of upside being as young as he is.
I think a guy that could be a bust, not so much a bust, but a guy who was highly touted, at like when mock drafts were getting put out, early 2025 mock drafts after last year's NFL draft. Denzel Burke was really high up on in first rounds for mock drafts after last year's draft. And this year he got torched, to be fair. As Buckeye fans, me and Benny know, we watched Denzel Burke show lack of awareness and lack of size all throughout the season. He's 6'1", 193. He's probably going to be a nickel cornerback in the NFL, and I could see him succeeding at that at some areas. And he's also good in zone, but a lot of NFL defenses now are man. I would say they're man. They're a mix, but I just don't think he's really athletic enough or big enough to play cornerback at the NFL level, at least on the boundary.
If you would have asked me a season ago who the best cornerback in this year's draft would be, I would have told you Will Johnson. He was the best defender as a true sophomore on the best team in the nation. But last season, it was a different Will Johnson. He was banged up. He's still not completely intact. I know he held like his own private combine, but this guy is still dealing with injury. I think he's a little bit overrated in terms of what we saw a season ago. I think that kind of hyped up his stock a lot. I think he guesses a lot, kind of similar to Trayvon Diggs. Not in terms of play style. I think that Will Johnson can press, and he can also move back. I think he's a great cornerback prospect, but I can't tell if I love or hate him. I think he does too much guessing, and also the injury bug.
He could be this year's DeJean in terms of falling due to injuries.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this guy, we talked about it last year. He's a projected top 10 pick. Now he's kind of at that 14 to 15 range. Some even have him going outside the first. I don't see that. I think as a prospect, he's a still hit-or-miss prospect. But I think the injury bug's going to come into it. I think some teams are going to ask him to do too much early, and that might be why this guy could be a bust.
That'll do it for the corner position. We have one more NFL position group left, and that is safeties. That's all next here on the Plead Your Case Live Draft Special 2025 after the break.
Gotcha.
Yeah, what are you doing? We're on 30 seconds. Thank you, Corey. Where have you been?
Just around.
Okay.
Fading up to Tyler and Mia in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Mia Hinkins.
And I'm Tyler Heron, and welcome
to Jacket Sports Weekly.
We just got done talking about the corners. We're keeping it in the secondary. Are there any ball hawks this year? Cole Keller, Vinny Heller, and Joe Torrillo. I mean, that caught me off guard, the rhyming there. Cole Keller, Vinny Heller. But Vinny Heller does play safety here for Waynesburg University. That's correct, right?
Yes, sir.
Who is your number one safety in this draft?
I'm going to take it plain and simple. It is not the one out of South Carolina. I'm going Malachi Starks all day. He's not the fastest, but I'll tell you what, he's pretty physical, man. I mean, he led the University of Georgia in tackles. I mean, he's had a stellar season. He had a pretty good combine as well. I mean, is a safety, it's sad to say, but the free safety position is dying. I mean, we're seeing more safeties move down in the box, as I call them, bandit backers. They're used more as setting an edge as an outside contain, and as a safety, free safety, that's not what I like to see, but I mean, Malachi Starks does that pretty well.
One of the guys that I see is Xavier Watts. You could call it bias all you want. I am a Notre Dame fan, but the biggest thing with this, though, is just Watts has been able to do things like Troy Polamalu did in his days with the Steelers. He is always there for you to count on at any point you would need him. You need a big play, look to Watts. You need him to do just a routine tackle, look to Watts. He's versatile across the entire field, not only on the defensive side, but also on the special team side. A lot of teams have started to go into that, like the Philadelphia Eagles, looking to use Cooper DeJean in their special teams formats. A lot of guys could start to go in that route. That helped them win the Super Bowl. You could see that go on with Xavier Watts there. His play recognition, I think, is the best out of all defensive backs in this entire draft. So I think Watts is one. Maybe not to go off the board right away for a safety, but I think is going to definitely be a steal in the second or third round.
I think the safety class this year is a little lackluster compared to recent years. We've seen Kyle Hamilton a few years ago be drafted very high, highly touted safety. And for me personally, my favorite is Nick Manawari. 6'3", 227 pounds. Like you said, Vinny, I agree with Malachi Starks. A lot of these top safety prospects are from very good defensive teams. And he's big body, 4'3", very fast, excellent run defender. And most of the safeties this year, like you said, Vinny, are turning into more run defenders, come down the hill, get the running back in the backfield. But I would say a big knack on Amanda Warrior is that he relies way too much on his speed in zone coverage. He'll let the receiver run past him and then pray that he gets to the receiver in time to make a pass deflection or anything. But I think a team that could really develop him in the league are the Indianapolis Colts. I think that they have a lot of big-time athletic people that they develop pretty well, and I think that would be a great fit for him personally.
You guys obviously know a lot about safeties. What other teams do you guys think could be searching for a corner in this draft, or a safety, in this draft?
I'm going to start off, I think the Steelers. The Steelers definitely need to add to their defensive backfield. I think picking up Joey Porter a few years back, I mean, he had some hype, but did he live up to it? Not really. I definitely say Kevin Winston Jr., he's a sleeper, but I originally see the Steelers trying to pick up that Malachi Starks as soon as possible. I mean, he would be a true asset to the run defense and run support, just coming downhill, being a bigger guy. And like I've said before, he's fast and he's all over the field. I definitely think the Steelers should definitely look into getting Malachi Starks out of UGA.
Detroit is trying to make that final push to the Super Bowl, and I think one of the biggest things that keeping them from this is their backfield. Not only is it the corners, but it's the safeties. They need to start looking to that a little bit more. In this case, a lot of injuries is what plagued them late into last season, and in this case, they need to also say, all right, even if rookies aren't going to be starting, we can still develop them under our stellar defense that they've been able to build up. Campbell has been able to fire up guys when it's needed, and so if you need a rookie to go in at week 17, week 18, I think a lot of these guys you could draft, be able to get into that spot, and they can fire them up enough so Detroit can find their way into that Super Bowl that they are desiring so badly.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of safeties this year are depth pieces, and maybe eventually down the line they end up going into that starter role.
I completely agree.
I think that there's a lot of teams, honestly, that need a safety. There's always one good safety. The Ravens, for example, they need another safety to pair with Kyle Hamilton. The Vikings, Harrison Smith is in his 14th year. His legs are probably about to fall off. His head
He's
maybe
out the
too.
door.
The Patriots, I think there's a lot of teams that really need a good safety to pair or even a safety to fill a void until there is a generational safety that they could get in the next year's draft class or the year after.
Are there any busts this year, taking a look at guys that might not pan out?
I'm going to stick it straight, Nick Emanuori. He's a really great asset. And 6'3", 220 pounds. Joe Schrillo over here mentioned his speed at the combine and all that. However, what do we really see when he gets on the field? He's playing down more in the box. Can he be held accountable in those cover 3 and cover 1, maybe even 0 and man down in the red zone? But can he be consistent? I don't know. There's too many guys that at this weight and size that are playing in the box. And honestly, I would see him as more of an edge setter than back at safety, and I feel like that'll take a turn for the worst in his future career.
I'm going to piggyback right off that. I think that Amore is just – he's one of those guys that he's gotten so much hype, but for why? What reason? I think there's a lot of guys in this draft that are kind of in that conversation, a lot of the top guys especially. And in this case, I don't really think anybody's really a bust player. Like we said, this safety class, the defensive back class, honestly, is more of just like a depth builder. No one's really going to come swinging out the gate really hard on week 1, be coming in and be making that many differences. I think in this case, it's really just going to come down to what depth are they able to provide for a lot of these championship-trying teams.
Yeah, and you talked about the Lions earlier. Kirby Joseph earlier today got a 4-year, $86 million extension. So safeties are a key piece. But realistically, like we said, depth is probably the key here this year. I think a bust for me may be Billy Bowman Jr. out of Oklahoma. Little banged up this year, and his stats the previous year were a lot better. He had 6 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, had a 100-yard interception. And I think really he only stands out to me whenever he is in the 5 or beyond. He doesn't really run defend well. He can miss receivers as soon as they break their routes. He gets left a lot, honestly. But other than that, I don't really see a lot of players that – there's a lot of players in the safety class that have been hurt or have dealt with injuries in their college career. But I think for the most part, they're all just going to be depth pieces and never really have a level to appeal to.
You guys think, talking about the safety class as a whole, that they'll pan out and meet their expectations as a group, or do you think that they'll play under that?
It's kind of hard to say, to be honest, because there's definitely guys on this, even in the top 5, Xavier Watts, Kevin Winston Jr. I have Lathan Ransom, guys that can even be pieces on special teams to help them develop that inspiration and maybe keep pushing on that 53-man roster to kind of build your name almost in the defensive backfield, whereas you have old guys playing all over the league who are mentors depending on which team you take, like Harrison Smith, for example. One of these DBs get drafted to those Vikings, you have a specific role model. It's just how many are there really left to lead these younger defensive back secondary players into succession, should I say.
I think a lot of these guys are really going to depend on, like you said, what other players and coaches are going to be there to build them up, to hopefully get them to that point. I think in a first-year scenario, I don't think anything's going to really be coming out from a lot of these guys. But maybe in year 2, year 3, we could see that. You have guys from, at least from the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have Darius Slay coming in. He's on the older side. He's going to be on his way out. You mentioned Harrison Smith. Those are guys that are going to try and want to help their teams in their future, so maybe helping develop these guys, I think, in the future is what a lot of these teams are going to be looking for.
I personally think that the expectations are so low for this year's safety class that they really don't have to live up to anything. And if a player does fall or end up not becoming anything in the NFL, he didn't really have that expectation, except for Amanda Warrior and Malachi Starks. They're really the only ones who have a huge expectation on them. So that's just my thoughts there.
All right, guys. Well, thank you, Cole. Thank you, Vinny. Thank you, Joe. That'll do it for the safeties. That's our final position group in the NFL tonight. We'll have our seniors in the final segment give some final thoughts, maybe some bold takes on what they think is going to happen in the NFL draft. But we'll go next to the Major League Baseball draft, go to the Diamond here next on Plead Your Case. Logan R. Blaster here on the Plead Your Case live draft special, and we're on the diamond now with Meg Berry, Joe Torilla, and Mike McKenzie directly to my left, talking about Major League Baseball. There's a lot of young, talented arms in this class. Who are your guys' favorite prospects this year?
I think I'll let Meg start. She hasn't been on.
Come on. Anyway, pitcher-wise, everyone's looking at Jamie Arnold. I mean, he's the top guy right now. I just think he's extremely young, and yeah, he's a lefty and he's a great lefty, but I think that young side of him is what's going to cause a lot of the issue. So my guy is Tyler Bremner from UC Santa Barbara. Don't count out the small school guys, okay? Like, he doesn't have to go to a big powerhouse school to be a good pitcher. So far this season, not the best season overall, only 54 innings pitched and a 4 ERA. But last season, 88.2 innings pitched, only 25 earned runs on the entire season, and finished the season with 11 wins, 1 loss, and a 2.54 ERA. Like, that's insane to me. So he's my top guy when it comes to the pitching prospects.
Mike?
I think I'm going to take Jamie Arnold here, the left-hander out of Florida State. ESPN has him as their only 50 FV guy, and FV stands for future value, so they try to put future value on their prospects on, I believe it's a 20 to a 50 scale. Their only 50 FV guy is Arnold, a 2.40 ERA this season. Fastball sits mid-90s. It can touch 97, but it's usually between 93 and 95. Sweeper in the mid-80s. He can throw both the four-seam and the sinker, and the arm angle he has as a lefty, it's a little bit more to the side. It's not a complete sidearm, but it's at a weird angle, and then his extension, it allows for a lot of movement. Batters, what they see when Arnold throws the ball, it's a lot of movement, even with his four-seam and his sinker. So it's tough to hit Arnold, the lefty thrower. And I think this also, we're talking about a lot of college guys. It signifies the fact that a lot of teams are looking for, and a lot of these top prospects in the draft are now college guys. I feel like after that 2020 draft, the attention shifted to college guys, especially like you said, Meg, some of these more experienced guys, 3-year, 4-year starters, pitchers, and outfielders. And I think Arnold, even though you said it, he's young, this is I believe his first full year starting, but I still think a college guy, you get him a full year in ACC baseball, has a chance to show out in regionals, super regionals, maybe on the off chance Florida State makes it to Omaha for the College World Series. Arnold's got some college experience, 50 FV. He's got the stats. He's got the fastball, the sweeper, all that junk, whatever you want to call it, in the off-speed stuff. He's just got a lot of things, a lot of makings of a great MLB pitcher.
Well, Mike, you covered it all. I don't really know if I could add anything else. My pick was also Jamie Arnold, left-hander. I mean, wow, he's just been able to do quite well for this Florida State team. The biggest thing that I continued to see was that last season he was able to keep up with 2024 top draft picks from the MLB in Chase Burns and Hagen Smith. In this case, you're already competing for those spots, and then he continued to do so in this regard, in this season where he got that full start with it. I just definitely think that Arnold is going to be one star that's going to really be coming out of this. A lot of guys only need 1 year in college, maybe 2, to really showcase themselves. And he had that half a year. Now he's having this full season. He's going to be able to do that well. And again, left-handed pitchers. Guys love them, especially in the MLB. And a lot of people are going to want that in their picks. So in this case, I think Arnold's going to go pretty high up. If not in the top 3, definitely within the top 5.
Yeah, it definitely helps to have a nice southpaw in your rotation. They also pay you a lot of money in the big leagues to be able to hit the ball over the fence. So that's
Yes,
my
they
next
do.
question. Who's going to be the guy that gets that next big contract? Who's the best hitters in this MLB draft?
Yeah, so obviously, right now, everyone's saying Ethan Holiday, but I'm going to hit this again. Way too young. Kid's 18 years old. Way too young. You touched on it, Mike. I do think you need a little bit of experience within the college playing in the NCAA before you can just move straight into the MLB. That's a big change. You're 18 years old in the pros already. It's not impossible. We've seen it done before, but I just think it's way too young. So my guy is Jace Lavidiotto. He is my favorite right now. You loved it when he hit that home run and he broke the Texas A&M record, and they put the nice little green Masters jacket on him before Masters weekend.
It was pretty nice.
So I definitely think him. Right now in this season, he's batting .315 average, 15 home runs on the season, 52 RBIs, 45 hits with 48 runs. He is insane. He's an all-around athlete, and he has the Texas A&M home run record right now. And looking at his fielding on the outfield piece of things, he is a work of art in the outfield. Last year in the 2024 season, didn't have a single error in the entire year. So he's my guy, and honestly, it would be really nice to see the Pirates draft him.
Joey?
In this case, I mean, we weren't really touching on him a whole lot, especially Meg was kind of not giving him as much of the flowers as a lot of people think he should be getting. That's Ethan Holiday, the shortstop third baseman out of Stillwater High. You know that if you're getting looked at and you're one of the top prospects overall in the MLB, you got something coming for you. Maybe not right away, maybe not this season, but in terms of big contracts for big swings, he's definitely going to see it at some point in the future. Whether it's now or whether it's later, I'm not sure. I couldn't really tell you. If it is now, we could see something spectacular coming out of him, or we could see something on the sides of Billy Beane from Moneyball, which I may or may not have recently watched.
I'm going to go with another shortstop from the state of Oklahoma in high school. I'm going with Eli Willits. He shot up some draft boards this year, just a straight hitter. Not only is he going to hit for average, he's going to hit for slug, and that's something that a lot of MLB teams and scouts look for now. It's not just, are you hitting for 500? It's what you're slugging compared to your 500 batting average. You got to get those extra base hits. Like you said, you got to hit the ball over the fence. You got to find gaps, triples, even if you got that speed. Willits has some solid speed. Obviously, a shortstop, you got to be agile. You got to have some lateral quickness, some straight line quickness. Willits has that, but just a straight up hitter, the shortstop from Oklahoma, at least out of high school. I think he's going to end up signing with whatever team drafts him. I've seen draft boards have him down to 20 and then as high as 2 or 3. So it's fluctuating what a lot of people think of Willits, but if I'm going with a high school guy, which I think I am considering I have a lot of prep school, high school guys on my list for hitters, I think I'm going with Eli Willits.
Now, is there a player that you want to be drafted to your favorite team? Meg kind of already alluded to who she wants to be drafted to the Pirates. Joe, you're a mix between the Orioles and Pirates, I think, growing up in the Maryland area. But is there a guy that stands out to you that you'd like the Pirates to pick in this upcoming MLB draft?
In this case for the Pirates, I didn't really look too much. I figured these guys would take it away for that. So in the Orioles side of things, the pitching's bad. If you are a fan of MLB or just of the Orioles in general, or maybe just are looking from the outside, the Orioles have one of the worst pitching rosters in the entire league, and it's really bad. I bet the NFL probably has some better rosters for pitching stats. But in this case, you really need to look into building that up. They need to look into free agency as well. But when you come into the draft, I'm looking for a right-handed pitcher out of Oklahoma, Kason Witherspoon. His speed is just magnificent. I've seen him throw so many good balls that I just was like, dang, I really want to see him down at Camden Yards. And I will go and buy tickets to watch him at Camden Yards. And I bet you I will. And so in this case, he's peaking at 99 miles per hour. You could 100% get him up to 100 miles per hour and be touching in that, putting that Swiss cheese down in there, seeing where it gets him. I would love to see him down in Baltimore.
I think I'm going to go with an outfield hitter. I'm going to go with a college guy, Brendan Summerhill from Arizona University. Last year, I wanted them to take Brandon Montgomery, outfielder from Texas A&M. They ended up going Connor Griffin. I do like that pick at this point. So far, he's panned out. But I think the Pirates need to go with an outfielder, a 3-year player, 2-year starter from Arizona University, a guy that can shoot up through the farm system. I think he could be on the major league team as early as 2027. 45 FV prospect, according to ESPN. This season so far, slashing .406, .656 with an OPS of 1156. Numbers through the roof for Summerhill. Guy flat out hits. They got their prep school outfielder last year. I think they got to go with an outfielder from the college ranks, and I think this guy, at least from a hitting perspective, easily the best. You look at the slash line. He hits for slug. He hits for average. He's just everything you want in an outfield prospect. I think he's going to shoot through the Pirates organization. Summerhill, that's the guy. I'm hoping that this summer they take Summerhill.
Meg, do you want to build on that, or do you?
I mean, I really do like Summerhill as well. He's a really good guy. He was my second guy after Jace. I just think it's from that perspective of we need more hitters. We need people in the lineup, especially with the Pirates, that are going to hit the ball. Right now, you're not seeing much of that, especially so far in this season. So what you touched upon with Hill is definitely what we need. Same thing with Jace. He clearly hits the ball over the fence, and he's doing a great job of it at Texas A&M right now. So I would be happy with either of those athletes getting drafted by the Pirates.
Yeah, the Pirates definitely need a lot of help on the hitting side of things, and they've really toned up on their pitching depth. but we'll see what moves they make in the MLB draft coming up in a few months. The only segment we have left, the last segment of the night, it's the senior segment. We hope you stick along for that one here on the Plead Your Case live draft special.
Unable to watch the live stream? Follow our account on X for live updates on the game. Check us out on Instagram as well for game day posts with all the information you need to know, as well as behind the scenes of each production. Our social media team works the hardest to give the best content to all of our audience. We're even on TikTok. You can stay up to date with WCTV on our Instagram account with clips from each of our shows. And last but not least, subscribe to our WCTV YouTube channel to watch those shows in full length. Check us out from Lewiston, WCTV, and the entire Department of Comm.
Oh, I didn't see you there. I'm Mia Hinkins, and welcome to Buell Hall, home of Waynesburg University's Department of Communication. If you visit our campus, you'll have the opportunity to attend some comm classes, enjoy lunch with our students, and watch us in action. We hope to see you here soon at Waynesburg University.
To schedule your personal visit, go to waynesburg.edu/admissions/schedule-visit. Come grow with us at Waynesburg University.
Over the past 3 to 4 years, the Waynesburg University Department of Communication has been very lucky to have so many amazing students. 5 of those students have really left their mark on the department, and this show specifically are Meg Berry, Ron Brown, Anthony DeFilippo, Mike McKenzie, and Ryan Martin. Our 5 seniors join us for the final segment tonight on the 2025 NFL Draft Special. Meg and Ron will be graduating here in about a week or so this is definitely the final PYC segment that you guys will be on, and possibly the final WCTV related production that you guys will be doing. The other 3 in Mike, Flip, and Ryan, who is over on the green screen wall with Ron, the 2 sports info guys, but Flip, Ryan, and Mike will all be graduating next December, so this coming December is when they graduate. Guys, now is your time to kind of give any final thoughts you have about the comm department. You guys have dedicated a lot to the show over the years, so thank you all for that. But before I give you the floor to kind of give your last message to the comm department and PYC, you guys are all very talented at a very specific sport. Meg, baseball, Flip, NHL. Meg, we'll start with you since you led us this year as WCTV GM. Do you have any hot takes to leave us with? Any bold final shots you have on the upcoming MLB draft?
I'm going to say it again. I said it in the last segment if you were watching. I think high schoolers should not be drafted. I will say that. I do not believe. I know. It's a hot take for a reason. I believe high schoolers should not be drafted. As a college athlete myself, competing at the athlete level of being an 18-year-old competing against 22 and 23-year-olds in the college level is hard enough, let alone an 18-year-old going to play against 30 and 40-year-olds possibly. Like, that's insane. That's absurd. There's a maturity level that you develop not only in age, but your body gets stronger, you get bigger as an individual. So athleticism and just mental maturity as well, that I think high schoolers should not be drafted to the MLB.
I have the advantage of the NHL draft lottery not happening yet, so I can kind of make my bold take as far as that goes. I'm not going to pick the Pittsburgh Penguins to win the draft lottery. They got it rigged for them 20 years ago when they got Sidney Crosby. Okay, I can admit that. That's fine. One team that has had it rigged for them several times and way too many times is the Chicago Blackhawks. I think they win it again. Now they have the second best odds, so that's not that surprising. But I think they'll win it. They'll probably actually take a bad player this year. There's no consensus number 1 overall pick. If they take Michael Misa, they're setting themselves up for success. If they take Matthew Schaefer, they might be setting themselves up for failure. That's one of my other kind of hot takes. I don't think he's going to be that good. But yeah, there's my hockey hot take.
Thanks, Flip, and thank you for putting up with me as your roommate the last couple of years.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention anything about that, but
you
now
only
that
have
you
to make
brought
it
it out,
to
I have
December.
some things to air. No, just kidding.
I'm
We'll
sure
save
that,
that for off air.
I'm sure that can't come soon enough for you, but thank you. I do appreciate you and Meg, WCTV GM this year, leading us. I really do appreciate everything you guys have done.
Yeah.
Mike here is going to be play-by-play announcing for the Mahoning Valley Scrappers of the MLB Draft League after Waynesburg for him, which is very exciting, I'm sure. And congratulations on all of your success. Obviously, you have a lot of knowledge when it comes to baseball, but I also know you're a mastermind on the football side of things. You gave a lot of thoughts. You've been up here. This is your 4th segment now. Any hot takes for this NFL draft, and give us everything you got with these college football prospects.
I have a few. First off, Luther Burden is going to be the wide receiver steal of the draft. I think that he should be a consensus top 15 pick, but some off-the-field character questions, not even issues, just questions, have shot him down draft boards into the 30s on big boards. He's in the top 10 of my big board in terms of overall prospects. He should be drafted way higher than he is. He's going to end up having or being a receiver very similar to Jamar Chase. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 5 receiver in the league off the bat, but he's got a chance to be a top 10 receiver wherever he goes. I think Luther Burden is going to be a key wide receiver for whatever team he gets drafted to. Speaking of wide receivers, I think you guys remember a few years ago, Marquise Brown was traded from the Ravens to the Arizona Cardinals on draft night for a first-round pick. It was an overpay that a lot of people thought for the Cardinals to give up a first-round pick for Marquise Brown. That ended up being the case, but the Cardinals got desperate. They were looking for a receiver, didn't think there was anybody worth developing in the late 20s. I think a similar thing is going to happen this year. I think some team in the 20s, my pick is the Green Bay Packers, will give the Steelers a first-round pick for George Pickens on draft night. They don't want to take any of these college receivers. They don't want to develop somebody. They want to take George Pickens. The Steelers aren't going to pay him, so the Steelers are willing to trade him. I think Pickens goes to the Packers or some team in the 20s or maybe the Bills at 30 on draft night for a first-round pick in what may be considered an overpay, but a shocking draft night trade.
Oh, my God.
Did that take have anything to do with me being?
No, it didn't. It honestly didn't. A lot of it had to deal with the Jordan Schultz report earlier today that the Packers are aggressive in going after Pickens and the Steelers are fielding calls. That has me a little bit more confident that they're willing to make this move.
See, I think that if George Pickens is on the roster and you see how it went last year with no true second wide receiver where they had Kelvin Austin playing, you trade for DK Metcalf. Why in the world would you trade George Pickens?
Let's not get too far into this, guys.
Because I will say one sentence. Because if you get a first-round pick back, then you draft a first-round. You have 2 first-round picks. You go Dean Sissel at 21. That mid-20s pick, you go with the receiver.
Mike,
maybe
this is
you
a
go
really
Burden.
long sentence.
Maybe you go
It's a
with
really
Buka,
long sentence.
But that first-round pick you recoup, you get a receiver that's on a rookie contract.
All right. Well, I'll let you have the final word there.
Mike, you took out for Charles Barkley right there.
Yes, I did.
You were like 2 words.
I got 2
Went
words
off
for
like
you.
5 sentences.
Our 2 sports info guys over there, I already said they're over on the green screen. You guys might be doing sports info more than you're on camera, but I'll tell you what, when you guys are on camera, you look like you're supposed to be there. Always do a phenomenal job in your years on the show. Ron, you've been known for some hot takes in the past and some pretty spirited opinions on the show. Do you have any thoughts on the NBA or NFL draft? And then, Ryan, I'll get to you. Maybe you'll have both, Ron.
For the NBA draft, everybody knows who the first pick is going to be, Cooper Flag. I think the Spurs might end up with the first pick in the draft. Something similar like they did with Tim Duncan when David Robinson got hurt and they ended up getting the first pick. I think the same thing's going to happen. They're going to end up with Wemby and Cooper Flag on the same team. As far as the NFL draft, I'm only really worried about the Steelers. I hope we end up getting Shador somewhere, or I would be happy with Derek Harmon, but I think if Shador's not there, I think we got to go with Derek Harmon.
It's an insane.
All right,
hot
Ron,
take.
thank you. Ryan, I'm really glad we met on the first day that we
Yep.
were here at Waynesburg, and it's definitely a moment I will always remember. Pretty sure since that day we haven't stopped fighting about the Ravens and Steelers.
Not at all.
So with that said, do you have any final remarks for me as we carry on our Ravens and Steelers rivalry?
I have a hot take that you said actually. Yes, you.
Yeah.
Oh, you know it already. The Steelers have not had a good quarterback since 2016.
No.
That
I was
his hot
talking
take.
off the
That's
cuff.
A quote. That is a quote.
I have to defend myself. If
That
you're
is
going to
a-
throw it at me, you have to give me the
You thought I
defend myself. This guy had to watch Joe Flacco for so many years get his butt kicked by the Steelers. So
Oh,
that's why he
okay.
doesn't know what to say
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, okay.
No, I said that the Steelers
Mhm.
didn't have a quarterback of that caliber since 2016. Then 2 seconds later, corrected myself because I was just
You said good
throwing
quarterback.
words out there, and you know that.
No.
I said I corrected after the Big Ben elbow injury, 2019. But Ryan, thank you. Any final hot takes here from you other than that?
I got one final hot take. All right, Andrew Berry, Browns GM, has been talking a lot of good stuff about Jalen Milroe. He's been comparing his speed to Lamar Jackson, and I see it. I don't think he's as fast as Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is different, but he's got more arm talent. What, the 4.3? No, but Lamar runs faster. Come on now. That's ridiculous. The arm talent that he has, though, is something that you could work with. I know his accuracy isn't there. His accuracy is pretty bad, actually. But if you get him to sit behind someone a year, and the Browns now have Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, so maybe they could work something out, sit him for 2 years, 1 or 2 years. But take him in the early second round. I think that'd be a great pick.
Thank you guys all so much. Mike, Flip, Meg, Ron, Ryan, I really do appreciate everything you guys have done for the department. So thank you for everything you've done for Plead Your Case, and I'm so thankful for all of our friendships. Also, a huge thank you to Ethan Spazarski, who directed the entire show tonight, who will be producing Plead Your Case next year. He played an instrumental role in all this going so well tonight. Big shout out to the crew behind the scenes of Connor Hoy, Josh Klingon, Chris Fox, Kent Peterson, Gina Reeves, and Ben Heaps. For Meg Berry, Anthony DeFilippo, Ryan Martin, Mike McKenzie, and Ron Brown, this is Logan Arblasser signing off for the 2025 NFL Draft Special on Plead Your Case. Good night, everybody.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.